Chapter 2005. Yuchi Changfeng was horrified. He slowly stood up from the gully with a cold look in his eyes. Impossible. How can he be so strong? Yuchi Changfeng's nose twitched as his body trembled. Su-yi retracted his aura, and his face darkened. He looked at Yuchi Changfeng's thumb ring and saw that it was glowing even brighter. He hasn't used all of the power in the thumb ring yet. What kind of restriction is hidden in it? Qi Feihong stroked his chin as he looked at Yuchi Changfeng. Su-yi had undoubtedly used 80% of his power in the previous exchange of blows. His attack power was comparable to a peak origin ancestor. Even with such strength, Yuchi Changfeng only suffered some superficial injuries. Su-yi's face turned cold and gloomy. This situation was not easy to handle. It was obvious that a portion of the Jade Thumb Ring's power was able to trigger the innate Saint King aura. Yuchi Changfeng's cultivation level had temporarily increased by a whole realm. Power that doesn't belong to you will eventually come back to bite you. Yuchi Changfeng, don't tell me you don't understand this principle. Su-yi said coldly. What a joke. So what? Yuchi Changfeng's lips curled into a smug smile as light flickered in the depths of his black eyes. In the sky, barbarian Marshal Dao, the strong are respected. If all of you die today, I'll be the innate Saint Emperor. What's the difference between the real and the fake? Yuchi Changfeng's eyes were extremely cold as he swept his gaze across Su-yi, Lu Ruoxi, and the others. Flames of killing intent flickered in resentment. Boom! At this moment, a powerful pressure burst out from the Holy Venerate's body. The pressure of a 6th-level Yuan domain stage, Saint Ruler surged out, causing everyone's eyes to tremble for no reason. They even had a feeling that they were about to prostrate themselves. Su-yi sensed the change in the aura and instantly turned around. The Holy Venerate said, Su-yi, you can leave now, since it has come to this. It's the Holy Mountain's own matter. You can leave with Honglu and Ruoxi. Holy Venerate, old woman, what are you doing? Honglu shuddered. The aura of his yellow robe trembled, and his robe fluttered. A dangerous aura leaked out. As Su-yi stared at the Holy Venerate, he could see that the Holy Venerate's cultivation had instantly risen by 2 levels, and he had already reached the 8th level of the Origin Domain stage. A golden light sprinkled down, and the Holy Venerate was bathed in divine splendor under the brilliant and gorgeous light. Holy Light Spiral Dance. Within the golden light, a beautiful figure was dancing up and down. Her soft waist was moving along with the light rain. She raised her hand and turned her head slightly. A golden sleeve was thrown out and turned into a silk belt that wrapped around her skin. She took off her heavy palace robe, and her beautiful figure was shining brightly in the sky. Such a wonderful and beautiful scene would undoubtedly make anyone who saw it go crazy. The wind and thunder were blowing, and the music was playing from afar. It was like a beautiful accompaniment. The Lord's body and appearance were undergoing the most amazing changes. Her originally dignified and elegant face was filled with the vicissitudes of time. After the dance, she took off her golden sleeve, revealing a beautiful face in front of everyone. In an instant, everyone had forgotten about the changes in the situation. The Holy Venerate's amber eyes were bright and delicate. The golden curtain was half covering her shyness, and she looked sad and lonely. Her light yellow dress was fresh and elegant, and her footsteps were clear as dust. She looked like a beautiful fairy who had descended into the mortal world. Her silvery hair was casually played with by a jade hairpin. Her face was like a hibiscus, and her red lips were slightly opened. A small fringe was slanted above her slender eyebrows. It was as if she had seen the ups and downs of the world and finally returned to a pool of spring water. Her natural and refined beauty made everyone's eyes light up. The Holy Venerate is actually so beautiful. Su exclaimed in his heart. Lu Ruoxi's mouth was wide open as she looked at Mingyu Xingguang and the Saint Venerate in disbelief. Back then, there were 2 beauties in the heavenly man continent. One was Sister Duanmu, and the other was the Holy Venerate. After marrying the Holy Emperor, the Holy Venerate started to understand the profound in a simple way. She cultivated the Holy King's Qi, and there was a holy light spiral dance that was suitable for women. Lu Ruoxi is the Holy Venerate's real name. She's also my distant grandmother. Lu Ruoxi's soft voice was filled with pride as she nodded her head. Sui could not help but nod. He squinted his eyes and looked at the peerless beauty in midair. Unlike Duanmu Xiaoman, Lu Ruoxi had a natural refined grace and gave people a feeling of infinite gentleness. She does look a little like Ruoxi. The more he looked, the more they looked alike. Sui could not help but ponder. However, he did not know why the Holy Venerate wanted to reveal her cultivation and restore her youthful appearance. Seeing the Holy Venerate's body gently turn and slowly land on the ground, like a cloud covering the moon, Zhonglu's eyes were filled with tears. Old hag, do you really want to do this? The Holy Venerate touched the ground lightly and placed her left hand on her right hand. She looked at Yuqi Changfeng coldly with a strong murderous intent. Mistress. Yuqi Changfeng could not calm down. When he first entered the Heavenly Man continent, he was the disciple of the Holy Emperor and had interacted with the Holy Venerate for many years. Now that he saw the Holy Venerate's youthful appearance, the impulse of the past surged up to his eyebrows. The Holy Venerate moved her red lips slightly, and her clear eyes were sharp and cold. Yuqi, you participated in the Sacred Mountain Grand Competition under false pretenses. You no longer have the qualifications to be the Holy Emperor. You tried to harm your fellow disciples and deceive your master. Today, I will clean up your sect on behalf of the late Holy Emperor. Her deep voice spread out with an ancient and majestic aura. The Holy Venerate's power of Origin Domain Stage 8 shot out rapidly. In the distance, Yuqi Changfeng's expression changed from being touched to a sneer. His calm and deep eyes were filled with coldness and hatred as he sized up the tomb of the Holy Emperor. Master is buried here. Since you have done this, I will send you to see him. Boom! Yuqi Changfeng's eyes sunk in. The jade ring in his hand shrouded his entire body in a dazzling light. Su Yi, Xiahong House, and the others' expressions changed drastically. An earth-shattering golden soul pressure condensed in front of him, forming a huge circle of light. The dazzling white light spread out like a sun. The majestic soul aura whistled, erupting to the extreme in an instant. Such an aura was no weaker than the Holy Venerate's Origin Domain Stage 8. Su raised his eyebrows. This power is a little familiar. Xiahong House saw the dazzling light erupting. Her face was extremely cold as she whispered, "It's the innate Holy King aura." That's right. It's exactly the same as the one in the Sacred Martial Hall. Sui's expression changed drastically. After careful observation, it was indeed the same as the innate Holy King aura in the Sacred Martial Hall. In that case, the jade ring could draw the innate Holy King aura and store it for his own use. It was already a supreme treasure. Mistress, I'm sorry. This is the last time Changfeng calls you mistress. Chapter 2006. Yuqi Changfeng's eyes were getting more and more serious, and a murderous intent was rising in his heart. The jade ring shone brightly, and Yuqi Changfeng's cultivation increased once again. His Dharma projection shone brightly, and the handle of the wind, capturing golden truncheon, spun, shattering the space in front of him into pieces. At the same time, a huge shadow appeared behind Yuqi Changfeng. Like an ancient god, he extended his hands toward Lu Shining. The light that overflowed in the air caused the spatial ripples to crumble into powder. The rapidly spreading light shot toward Su Yi. Bam! The Holy Venerate's majestic energy turned into a shockwave that pushed Su Yi's body toward Xiahong House and Lu Ruoxi. Old woman, what are you doing? Su Yi was shocked as he retreated. Lu Shining smiled. Her smile was like the moon in the water, and at the same time, it dispersed most of Yuqi Changfeng's spiritual aura. Su Yi, only you can bring them out of here. Thank you very much. Su Yi suddenly felt his hatred lessen because of Lu Shining. When his feet landed on the ground, Xiahong House and Lu Ruoxi caught him. Holy Master, Both of them exclaimed at the same time, but Su Yi had locked onto them. Xiahong House's cold eyes were filled with anxiety as she stared at Su Yi. "Let go of me. I want to save the old woman." Lu Ruoxi also looked at the attacks of the Holy Master and Yuqi Changfeng. Her eyes were trembling as she shouted, "Su Yi, I want to save Grandma, Holy Master. I want to save Grandma, Holy Master. Let go of me." Su Yi immediately activated the Origin Supreme technique and clenched his fists. His body was as tense as steel, and his heart was filled with anger. "Xiahong House, Ruoxi, we have to get out of here. How could Yuqi Changfeng have such a treasure? Furthermore, there was a matching cultivation method to activate it. This was not something he could do. Calm down. We have to get out of here." Su Yi. At this moment, Lu Ruoxi's heart was already in her throat. Yuqi Changfeng's aura was swift and fierce, so how could she be at ease? Xiahong House pondered for a while and looked at the shattered space in the distance. Violent power swept out, and golden light spread out like waves. The dazzling light slammed into the walls of the tomb, and the mottled walls began to crack and shake. Xiahong House gritted her teeth. "Su Yi is right. Let's go." In the distance, the Holy Master was constantly moving his body. Violent soul power was constantly pouring down from his body. The entire space suddenly exploded with a thunderous sound. The huge figure of the Holy King continued to throw out huge fists in the air, and the spacious interior of the tomb was being hit again and again. "Go!" With a loud shout, Su Yi and Zhonglu looked at each other. The yuan qi under their feet increased their speed to the maximum, bringing them toward the entrance. Yuqi Changfeng, who was in the midst of a fierce battle, inadvertently glanced at the three voices in front of him and immediately shouted, "Get back here. All of you must die." Innate Holy King Qi gushed out from his body. Yuqi Changfeng's eyes were bloodshot, and his golden body was surrounded by an ancient white light. He thrust out his golden jian, and the space around the entrance was distorted. At the same time, at the entrance, a repulsive force pushed Su Yi, Lu Ruoxi, and Zhonglu inwards. Boom! Huge rocks fell down, and the entrance was already buried. Only the pitch-black spatial cracks were left outside, completely blocking the entrance. "Ha ha! Die!" Yuqi Changfeng watched as the three were pushed back. Then, a golden light burst out and filled the space like lightning. The Holy King's palm was huge and wide, and it was aimed at the three. "Not good." Lu Shining, who was facing the Holy King's palm at the same time, frowned and her face turned extremely serious. Sky's swirling aurora dance. In the split second, Su Yi set up the Monster God battle armor and Chaos Origin light ring in the dark, while Zhu Honglu and Lu Ruoxi set up their chi. In an instant, their vision turned dark, and the three shouted at the same time. One had to admit that the innate Holy King Qi was too powerful. It covered the sky and even the earth. Pong! In the dark space, a tiny light like an electric drill rushed into the Holy King's palm. The Holy King's light dance created a hole in the Holy King's palm. Above the void, Lu Shining's beautiful brows furrowed. Her cold and elegant brows added a bit of liveliness, and her eyes trembled with anger. "Come out now. So. Under the protection of the holy venerables, the golden dance danced gracefully, setting off thousands of rays of light. The mighty aura directly hit the Holy King's shadow. Above the void, the three figures behind Lu Shining unleashed their auras at the same time, slamming their palms and retreating rapidly. "Chila!" The Holy King staggered and fell to the ground, supported by Lu Ruoxi and Zhuhonglu. Her face was pale, and her eyes were filled with shock as she looked at Yuqi Changfeng. Pung. It was the same on the other side. The Holy King's phantom behind Yuqi Changfeng changed, and he turned into a bloodline that slammed onto the ground. He stood up with blood flowing out from his mouth. "Run? All of you will die. Master's wife, stay here and accompany Master." Ha! Yuqi Changfeng's teeth were stained with blood, making him look even more ferocious. Eerie laughter shook the sky, and Yuchi Chongfeng's face was twisted together. His eyes were bloodshot, and his voice was as sharp as a piece of frosted paper. Su Yi's aura gradually recovered, and he secretly took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with astonishment. Yuchi Chongfeng's aura soared to the heavens, and his eyes were as bright as the sun. Rays of light that resembled the golden crow soaring to the sky constantly pushed the spatial ripples in all directions. The pressure was so overwhelming that it seemed like it could suppress everything. Is this the true power of the innate holy King Qi? Su Yi exclaimed in his heart. He silently circulated the art of the origin supreme art to the extreme and faced the holy king's phantom. Senior Lu, are you all right? Xiang Hao's and Lu Ruoxi's eyes flickered. Su Yi's attitude towards the Saint Venerable had changed, and it was obvious what it meant. Lu Shining's lips twitched, and the bone-chilling coldness faded away. She smiled and said, "Seems like there will be a fierce battle today. Are you afraid?" "We are not, Granny Holy Lord." Lu Ruoxi's expression was calm as determination flashed through her eyes. "Come." Lu Ruoxi pulled out her twin swords, and her eyes were filled with coldness. Saint Venerable Lu Shining touched Lu Ruoxi's cheek and laughed softly. "So alike, more and more alike." Her voice was faint, and Lu Ruoxi's eyes were glazed over. "Let's go. Yuchi Chongfeng must die." Su Yi's eyes were burning with anger. The art of the origin supreme art, S aura burst out, and an ancient and heavy aura came from the ancient times. The blood demon killing god sword in his hand glowed with blood-red light. Chapter 2007. This sword. The Lord bit his lips and looked at the blood demon killing god sword in Su Yi's hand. Then he raised his head and his gaze turned cold again. Boom! Yuchi Chongfeng pushed his hands forward, and the innate Saint King Qi pierced through the clouds and cracked the stones. Golden light filled the sky and intertwined with each other. Behind him, the huge Saint King figure stood up, and Yuchi Chongfeng slowly climbed up from the ground. His face was horrifying, and his aura was terrifying again. In the next moment, Su Yi and the other three turned into lightning phantoms, and Yuchi Chongfeng also gave it his all. Under the continuous pouring of the Saint Ruler's Qi, an ancient and profound aura filled the entire area. The jade thumb ring shone brightly, and at this moment, it had already brought about a large surge of wind and clouds in the air. At the same time, the four figures crossed each other, and the light in their hands shot up into the sky and covered the area in front of them. Burning blood, sword rays, golden storm, and the void trembled. The blurry phantoms exploded, and the innate Saint King Qi surged like the ocean. The blinding golden light carried an unparalleled aura and rushed toward them. Pung, 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 pung. In the divine land, the terrifying soul attacks caused ripples that spread out from all directions. In the void, the Lord and the others were shocked, and Lu Ruoxi shouted, "The innate Saint King Qi is so strong." In an instant, the Lord's soul pressure enveloped Lu Ruoxi and pulled her back. She held onto Lu Ruoxi's arm and fended off the Saint King Qi with the other hand. The innate Saint King Qi is the strongest Saint King Qi, and he can use it for himself. Now that his cultivation base has increased and he has unleashed all of it, he is too hard to deal with. Lu Ruoxi looked at Lu Shurchen's pale face and was shocked. She whispered, "My lord!" Pung! The golden phantoms overlapped each other, and the Saint King's huge palm blasted out a few light waves. In an instant, a deep sonic boom was heard, and everything was destroyed. Strong winds, accompanied by gravel, shot out from the cracks in the ground. The golden storm caused the space to tremble. Golden lightning, soul-shocking finger. In the center of the storm, Yuchi Chongfeng's battle intent surged, and golden light burst out. The golden finger mark was like lightning and rumbled in the sky. Today all of you will be buried here forever. Holy Mountain is mine." Yuchi Chongfeng roared angrily in the fierce wind. Golden, thunderbolt-like finger imprints rushed out from his fingertips, dazzling and sharp. They quickly turned into 4 streaks of golden light and swept towards the 4 people. Clang! After 4 metallic clangs, Lu Ruashi's eyes turned deathly pale. She was struck by a finger mark on her collarbone, and her body was sent flying. Ruashi! Su-yi shouted, and his eyes lit up. When he tried to pull his hand back, the Lord and Xiahong House were already on top of him. Lu Ruashi's face was contorted in pain. The faint burn mark between her eyebrows made Su-yi's heart ache. The golden lightning soul, shocking finger possessed a powerful soul force. Lu Ruashi's soul force was the weakest among the 4 of them. Immediately, her gaze began to slacken. Her beautiful face was filled with confusion, and her beautiful brows were tightly knitted together. Wong. Without hesitation, Su-yi activated the Origin Supreme technique. The art of controlling heaven glowed and blazed in his sea of consciousness. A murderous aura surged out, and a streak of soul force flowed through his fingertips and into Lu Ruashi's forehead. In the next second, Su-yi was enraged, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Yuchi Changfeng, I want you to go to hell. In the blink of an eye, Su-yi's face was as black as iron. He gripped the blood demon killing god sword tightly. The blood-red glow was dazzling like a demon, and the rumbling of thunder resounded. It was swift and fierce. He took a step back, and his speed left only a faint afterimage in the air. The Lord and Xiahong House in the battle circle were shocked. In a flash, Su-yi's aura exploded completely. His origin ancestor, 3rd stage cultivation base, enveloped his body. From afar, golden patterns covered his body, and a faint primordial dragon aura filled the sky. Above the void, their eyes met. Su-yi did not appear to be in a sorry state. Instead, he looked even calmer. Yuchi Changfeng, who had expected Su-yi's aura to change drastically, frowned slightly. However, his face immediately turned to one of extreme fear. Despairing heavenly stars. Brat, don't use it recklessly. The iron soulfish chided. I know, as he shouted. His eyes seemed to revolve like stars, and a resplendent river gathered above his head. Su-yi's aura instantly became vast and boundless in front of Yuchi Changfeng. In the boundless heaven and earth, Su-yi's aura seemed to have transcended heaven and earth. Suddenly, the boundless murderous aura shot down from the 9 heavens like a rolling storm. While the Lord and Xiahong House were shocked, Su-yi's gaze turned cold. The entire Holy Land was instantly surrounded by a desolate and ancient aura. Fiery hell, exploding universe, destroying stars, and extreme darkness seemed to have found light in an instant. Ha ha ha! Yuchi Changfeng's eyes were filled with shock. His hands trembled, and his cold pupils shrunk. His innate Saint King aura burst out again, and his huge shadow roared like a giant fighting against the heavens. Krong! Xiahong House and the Lord's eyes lit up. They took a step back and looked at the saints standing tall under the universe river. They shook their heads immediately. To be able to withstand the innate Saint King aura with such power, this brat will definitely reach the pinnacle in the future. Xiahong House must not be his enemy. Xiahong Lu, who was standing at the side, had a starry river in his sword-like eyes. He pursed his lips. Xiahong House's face was pale, but the sword in his hand, hidden snow, was humming as if it had sensed something. Roar! The 2 of them shouted at the same time. Yuchi Changfeng laughed evilly from the high ground. Even if you are promoted to another level, you will still be a loach. Pung! The emerald flashed in his hand, and the innate Saint King aura that leaked out from the cracks in the walls had already gathered around Yuchi Changfeng. Pung pung! The Saint King's shadow expanded again, and godly rays surged into his eyes. He flipped his palm, and in the most simple and violent way, he slammed it towards Su-yi. I'll go help him, Xiahong House, and Ruashi stay back. The Lord shouted, and beads of sweat dripped down from her pale face. Her delicate figure trembled and rushed forward. Boom! A loud explosion sounded, and the Saint King's shadow expanded by more than 2 times. The impact was so strong that it felt like it could overturn the stars and pierce through the heavenly river. The seals in the emerald can not only store the innate Saint King aura, it can also attract the innate Saint King aura nearby. Xiang House held Lu Ruashi behind him and looked at the 3 figures in the sky. They were dodging each other's attacks, and they looked like the rising sun. Who? The terrifying aura spread across the heaven and earth, and Xiang House and Lu Ruashi were both shocked. Yuqi Changfeng has been hiding all this while. The Tianfeng ranking competition might not even be his real goal. It's not easy for him to wait until today. Lu Ruashi's face changed, and her eyes were filled with shock. Chapter 2008. Sui, I'll go with you. With a delicate shout, Lu Shining's pale yellow figure turned into a storm in the air and directly blasted towards Yuqi Changfeng. Boom! A loud explosion resounded as the majestic sage monarch Qi exploded. Sui took the opportunity to retreat. His face was as pale as snow, and his bloodshot eyes widened. Gulp! After swallowing half a bottle of spirit liquid, Sui hurriedly revolved the primordial origin supreme art. Surging origin energy instantly rushed towards his nearly dried up Dantian Qi Sea. After using the Sorrow Destruction Heavenly Star, in less than 2 breaths of time, his Dantian Qi Sea was nearly empty. Bang, bang, bang. In the distance, the Holy Venerate unleashed his full strength. The more he fought, the more shocked he became. Yuqi Changfeng was actually able to fight on par with him and Sui. Yuqi Changfeng kept pushing his palms forward, and his footsteps matched his pace. Gradually, his breathing became rapid. Senior Lu, count me in. Let's go all out and not give him a chance to catch his breath. With his feet in air, Su Yi's complexion recovered a little. Half of the Yuan Qi in his Dantian Sea of Qi had already recovered. Seeing the ancient sage monarch Qi gathering around him, he had to completely crush Yuqi Changfeng this time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. With the sudden increase in pressure, Su Yi and the Holy Venerate moved around in the air. The Holy Venerate shouted, "Heaven's extreme, fiery wind." Spreading his hands forward, the space in front of him crumbled inch by inch as he blasted out like a bolt of lightning. Behind him, Su Yi's eyes were filled with coldness as he raised the blood demon, slaying God, sword high above his head. Su Yi once again used the despairing heavenly stars. He shouted, "Ping-er, come out." "Yes, master." A childish voice sounded, and a blood-red light filled the air behind him. The blood demon, slaying God's sword in his hand, shone brightly, and the blood-red blade light pierced through the void and shot forward together with the Holy Venerate's attack. Clang! Yuqi Changfeng's resentful gaze revealed a cold smile, but it suddenly froze on his face. In an instant, he felt an unprecedented sense of danger. Sword radiance flashed before his eyes. Chila! The sword light that sounded like a dragon's roar swept through the air. With the long sword in hand, the golden light exploded. Yuqi Changfeng's killing intent immediately shot out. Boundless golden light surged forth, and the majestic golden aura fluctuated incessantly, destroying the entire space as easily as crushing dry weeds. The absolute attack of the Heavenly Sovereign and Su Yi was too overbearing. Behind them, the 2 pairs of eyes were staring at Su Yi's blood demonic killing god sword. Such momentum was too shocking. He watched as Su Yi's sword moved violently, and the vital energy of the sage monarch world surged out. A loud boom rang out, and Yuqi Changfeng shot backward like a cannonball. At the same time, because of the unparalleled attack, the space trembled incessantly. Su Yi and the Heavenly Sovereign also turned into flowing light and retreated rapidly. At the place where the energy collided, a pitch-black space crack appeared directly. The destructive energy spread high into the sky. Under the shocking power, the space cracked inch by inch. Within the shocking power, everything was like hell. The Heavenly Sovereign and Su-Yi were severely impacted by the explosion of the Sage Monarch aura. They dove to the giant rock behind them and looked at the golden light shield in the sky that was starting to cave in. Suddenly, the aura swept out like a hurricane, and the wind and thunder roared incessantly. Holy Grandmother! Su-Yi, Xiahong Lu, and Lu Ruashi rushed forward to check on the two's injuries. There was a bloody wound on the Saint Venerable's pale neck, and his face was deathly pale. Su-Yi was also severely injured, and his aura was slightly weakened. Is it over? Looking at the Holy Land that had stopped abruptly, the Heavenly Sovereign coughed and brought out another cloud of blood. Holy Grandmother, are you all right? Lu Ruashi's eyes were misty with tears, and her eyes were like mist. She held Lu Shining's snow-white hands tightly. She gently touched the side of Lu Ruashi's face. The Heavenly Sovereign, who was lying in a pool of blood, looked a little haggard, but she still had a smile on her face. She said in a low voice, "I'm fine. Ruashi, the Holy Mountain Grand Competition has ended, but I didn't expect it to end like this. If you're determined to be Su-Yi, then let him be. The next generation should not follow the path of the previous generation. Grandmother, don't say anything. You could be cured." Lu Ruashi took out a half-filled bottle of spirit liquid from her bosom. It was filled with a medicinal fragrance and abundant spiritual energy. Suddenly, the Lord's unfocused eyes flickered. No matter how the Heavenly Sovereign refused, she still fed him the spiritual liquid. The Heavenly Sovereign let out a long sigh and heard Xiahong Lu's voice behind her. "Old woman, why do you have to use this trick? You will definitely die." "What?" Lu Ruashi and Su-Yi's eyes narrowed. They could feel that the Heavenly Sovereign's life force was draining away. Even if she kept replenishing it with her vitality, it could not change anything. "Grandmother!" Lu Ruashi cried even harder. She leaned on the Heavenly Sovereign's shoulder with tears all over her face. "Sigh." Su-Yi looked at her for a while and turned his head away. His eyes were solemn. The Heavenly Sovereign had not chosen to turn back since the beginning when she had obtained the power of her life force. He immediately thought of Grandmother Shangwan in Tian Yao School. He thought that after experiencing so many life and death situations and killing, she would have gotten used to such scenes. However, when he was in front of her, he realized that his heart would still hurt, especially for a gentle and kind elder like the Heavenly Sovereign. "Su-Yi, you have a deep relationship with the Holy Mountain. Can you let bygones be bygones for my sake?" The Heavenly Sovereign said intermittently. Hearing that, Su-Yi frowned. He hesitated and said in a low voice, "Let's think about how to get out first. This place is all destroyed. The innate Saint King Chi will soon be as strong as the sacred martial hall. By then, it will be impossible to get out." The Heavenly Sovereign looked at the god-slaying sword with an indescribable light in her eyes. Then a loud sound came from the opposite side. "You want to leave?" Cough. Yuchi Changfeng stood up from the ruins with half of the broken golden mace in his hand. His eyes were fierce, and his skin was all broken. He looked like a crazy demon. The remaining Saint King Chi shrouded his body. His skin was broken, and his bones were exposed. Blood was dripping everywhere. It was extremely horrifying. Lu Ruashi and Su-Yi quickly deployed their vitality. Their eyes were filled with fear. "You are still alive. You are courting death." Xiahong Lu's nose was red, and her eyes were filled with killing intent. She raised the hidden snow sword high. The Heavenly Sovereign also stood up shakily with Lu Ruashi's help. Her pale face was filled with vigor. Yuchi Changfeng let out an evil sneer as another cloud of blood mist spurted out. Yuchi Changfeng wiped his white, bony arm upward, letting the blood seep into the back of his hand. His hideous smile made him look like a devil crawling out of hell. "I have said, mistress. Everyone has to die. I can't be the Saint Emperor, and neither can you. Xiahong Lu, Su-Yi, and Lu Ruashi, you will all die with me." As soon as his voice fell, Yuchi Changfeng took off the jade thumb ring in his hand and used the last of his strength to shatter it. Immediately, he laughed wildly and fell to the ground. Ha ha! The eerie laughter was like the cry of a ghost, echoing in the collapsed ruins. Chapter 2009. After an arrogant and evil laugh, Yuchi Chongfeng's four limbs began to tremble uncontrollably after he raised his cultivation base by 2 whole levels with the help of the Jade Thumb Ring. Finally, his body began to explode. His skin swelled up like a rubber band, and veins crawled all over his face like worms. Yuchi Chongfeng's expression was horrifying. "The backlash is starting," murmured Su Yi. Pung. Not long later, 5 bloodlines dispersed in the air. Su Yi, Lu Ruoshi, and the others' eyes turned solemn. For a 9th-level Yuan sovereign to be able to survive until now after absorbing the innate Saint King Qi, his mortal body must be extraordinary. He must be panicking. You and the Saint Venerable were not in the original plan. Zhu Honglu squinted her eyes and started to deploy the Saint King Qi. Kung, Chong. After Yuchi Chongfeng fell, the jade ring shattered completely. The Saint King Qi within the walls also began to distort space. Under such a terrifying might, the robes of the 4 of them fluttered as they dodged backwards. The weapons in their hands were also constantly brandished. The peak Yuan domain, innate Saint King Qi, turned into a terrifying wave that flooded the heaven and earth. The golden light was like a golden sun in the sky, and the aura in the Saint Emperor godly land quickly collapsed. Pung pung pung. The space started to crumble. One after another, space ripples surged out, and countless thick and majestic golden light rumbled. In an instant, the entire sky started to tremble as a powerful light gathered and gushed out, and a vast aura crashed down on the 4. The innate Saint King Qi is too dense. It will devour the same Saint King Qi. This is his final counterattack. The Saint Venerable's face was pale, his long sleeves trembled, and a circular weapon appeared in his hand. Pung! On the circular weapon, a vast aura spread out again. At the same time, the Saint Venerable's face turned even paler, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. After the circular weapon danced in the air, the heaven and earth energy swirled into a tornado that connected the heaven and earth. Back! Back! Don't bother about me. The Saint Venerable shouted and ordered the 3 to not interfere. In the overwhelming aura, the 3 panicked and were at a loss. With a loud shout, Su Yi slashed out with the blood demon killing god sword in his hand. As the sword's shadows changed, a series of earth-shaking rumbles resounded through the world. In the blink of an eye, the 4 had already retreated to the southeast corner. The innate Saint King Qi was like a wall pressing down on them. If they did not do anything, they would be crushed into meat paste. What should we do? This Saint Ruler Qi is so strong. The seal has been submerged. The blood demon killing god sword in Su Yi's hand flickered with sword light as if it was demonstrating its power. His eyes were solemn as he constantly observed the situation in the distance. The Origin Supreme art was secretly activated. The ancient and vast aura attempted to pass through the innate Saint King Qi, and as soon as it touched the innate Saint King Qi, a desolate and helpless energy rushed into his heart. Buzz! Within his mind, the heavenly origin demon soul immediately felt a tremendous force. His vision blurred, and his limbs began to tremble. A mouthful of blood rushed up to his throat. He was instantly exhausted. The innate Saint King Qi that has been around for 10,000 years is not something to be trifled with. Otherwise, Yuchi Chongfeng wouldn't have been so confident in defeating us. What a shame, he's already at the end of his road. The Lord's lips twitched, his pearly white teeth pressed against his pale lips, and the golden ring turned into an arc, blocking the golden light again. Krong! In front of them was a distorted, ancient yellow Qi. Just as Lu Ruoshi and Shui Honglu were about to step forward, the Lord and Su Yi retreated to the only remaining corner. What should we do now? Can't we get out? Old woman, let's go together. Even if we're going to die, we can't force them to die like this. Shui Honglu shouted. As soon as she finished her sentence, The innate Saint King Chi surged out and enveloped Su-yi, Lu Ruashi, and the others. On the golden ring, the Lord suddenly spurted out a mouthful of blood and shouted angrily, "You are all the hope of the Saint Mountain. Remember my words." Pucci. As soon as she finished her sentence, the light on the Lord's body became even brighter. A blood-red Saint King Chi turned into a veil and covered her body. "Old woman, what are you trying to do?" When Shui Honglu stepped forward, thousands of golden rays shot out from the Lord's body, and the Lord's face once again revealed her beautiful face. Her pink lips opened slightly, the Lord's hand moved back slightly, and the golden ring was tossed high into the sky. Suddenly, a surge of energy shot out from the Lord's body and pushed the trio back. The Lord's body changed direction, and she rushed into the innate Saint King Chi with a smile on her face. "Old woman, Senior Lu, Grandmother Lord." The three peerless youths roared at the same time, but their bodies were blocked. Unknowingly, a bare rock hole had appeared on their left side. The Saint Venerable's veil stretched out in the innate Saint King Chi like a net, trapping the innate Saint King Chi's footsteps. Looking down, the Saint Venerable was nowhere to be seen. "All of you have to follow your hearts. Go in. The answer you want is in there. Let's go together." Grandmother Lord. Lu Ruashi gripped her twin hooks, which were dripping with blood and looking hazy like mist. The two people behind her gritted their teeth at the same time. "Shui Honglu, let's go. Let's take Ruashi away." Su-yi shouted. Shui Honglu remained silent, and in the face of such terrifying innate Saint King Chi, Shui Honglu's eyes turned red for the first time. "Let's go. Let's go." Shui Honglu compromised in the end and dragged Lu Ruashi into the rock hole. Hong Long. The energy storm in the dimension spun violently, and finally it disappeared in front of the rock hole. When the trio retreated into the rock hole, the hole began to close up, and all the rumbling noises disappeared in an instant. "Saint Emperor, the moon and tin twin rings you gave me is finally useful, and I can finally find you." The Lord's voice was faint, and finally, it disappeared with a sonic boom. The surroundings returned to silence, and the dim light on the walls shone on the trio's desolate eyes. The energy storm started to dissipate, and so did the Saint King Chi in the rock hole. Obviously, the Saint King Chi could not enter such a dimension. Woo woo woo. Lu Ruashi hugged her knees and sat on the ground, burying herself in her knees and sobbing. Shui Honglu was also in a daze, as if she had lost all hope. Why? Why did it become like this? Lu Ruashi scolded herself. Su-yi sighed and sat beside Lu Ruashi. Grandmother Lord saved the three of us because she wanted us to continue her will. Ruashi, you must be stronger. Lu Ruashi slowly raised her head, and her eyes were filled with fatigue. The scene of the Lord sacrificing herself was still playing in her mind, and pain flooded her mind again. Chapter 2010. The Lord was prepared to die when she used the secret technique. I think she must be tired after so many years. It's all because of the Holy Emperor that she managed to hold on until now. To her, such a final destination might be a form of relief. Is that so? Lu Ruashi sobbed. Large drops of tears fell like strings of pearls, soaking a large part of her clothes. Su-yi gently reached out to wipe her tears. Conflict, disappointment, sadness, helplessness, and sorrow flashed across Su-yi's eyes. He looked at the weeping Lu Ruashi and forced a smile. Then, he gently hugged Lu Ruashi in his arms and said softly, "The Sacred Senior did not forget about the Sacred Senior's efforts. Don't forget the Lord's efforts. Our departure is the best consolation for her. Yuchi Changfeng, the power behind this, and the origin of the Jade Ring must be investigated." Lu Ruashi cried even louder as she put her hand on Su-yi's shoulder. Su-yi's eyes were gloomy. He was also a little depressed. He glanced at Xiehong Lu and said in a low voice, "Aren't you going to say something?" Xiehong Lu snapped out of her daze and scrutinized Su-yi. Her eyes were filled with sadness as her pupils froze, and she spoke in a deep voice. "Ninth Holy Maiden, The jade ring in Yuchi Chongfeng's hand is not from the sacred mountain, is it? Lu Ruashi raised her head and recalled the jade ring in Yuchi Chongfeng's hand. She said, "It is indeed not from the sacred mountain. I have never seen it before. Yuchi Chongfeng and the sacred flame, I want them to pay with their blood." Xiahong Lu's eyes trembled. A domineering aura flashed across her eyes, and she could not recover for a long time. Phew! Su, he let out a long sigh and forcefully pulled himself out of his emotions. Su, he immediately stood up. With the light of the blood demon killing God sword, he illuminated the entire cave. The scattered light on the wall was like stars that led to the depths of the cave. Judging from the chill that seeped out of the wall, this place should be some distance from the surface. Let's not talk about that first. Have you been here before? Where does it lead to? Hearing this, Lu Ruashi wiped away her tears. In the dim light, her lake-like eyes blossomed with radiance as she looked around. She couldn't help but shrink her body and hug her arms. So cold. This place should still be within the golden sky great array. It's just that we're not in the divine land. Lu Ruashi became worried. Boom! Xiahong Lu pushed Lu Ruashi back, frowned, and lightly shook hidden snow. A snow-white waterfall slashed through the air, carrying the momentum of a thunderbolt as it shot forward. Boom! The sword light shot out. The sword light rushed forward for a long time without making any sound. In the end, it exploded with a muffled sound in the distance. Suddenly, space rippled as Xiahong Lu rushed to the side of the grotto. The sword light slashed down, and under the huge force, sharp sword chi overflowed. The saint weapon buzzed, and Xiahong Lu was knocked back dozens of feet. Dang, dang, dang one. Xiahong Lu looked at the dent on the stone wall in shock. It was only a thin white mark, and his eyes were filled with seriousness. This place shouldn't be in the divine land anymore. I can no longer feel the rich, innate Saint King Chi from before. It's just that the walls here are too hard and ancient. I don't know what kind of secrets are hidden inside. Su, he stepped forward, closed his eyes, and probed with his mind. His soul energy burst out and invisibly extended far away. A faint divine light surged around him, and a terrifying air wave probed inside like tentacles. After a long while, Su Yi's eyes rippled, and he couldn't help but shiver. He raised his starry eyes. Let's go in. The sacred master said that the answer is hidden inside. She wants to harm me, but she won't harm you, right? In order to ease the tension, Su Yi smirked and strode into the grotto. Airwaves surged and instantly filled the entire grotto. Lu Ruashi and Xiahong Lu looked at each other and immediately channeled their Yuan Qi into the grotto. So. The deeper they went, the more shocked they were. A bottomless feeling came from the depths of their hearts, as if they were digging out the secrets in their hearts. Their expressions changed rapidly. The light was exposed. The three didn't know how long they had been flying, and their direction was unclear. Finally, they arrived on a flat ground. Stepping on the flat ground, a kind of tranquility from the core of the earth quickly surrounded the three. Under the dim light, they could vaguely see a bright spot in front of them. Powerful Saint Ruler Chi spread out from the light. It contained an irresistible pressure that no one from the sacred mountain could resist. It shrouded the entire place. This pressure made Lu Ruashi and Xiahong House tremble as their faces turned red. This was the deepest baptism from the soul and bloodline. Following the fluctuation of the aura, Lu Ruashi and Xiahong Lu unconsciously walked towards the bright spot in the distance. So, looking at the two walking forward, Su Yi secretly channeled the Origin Supreme Art and opened his spiritual perception. However, he felt that there was a pair of eyes spying on him. He quickly turned around, but in the quiet darkness, his vision was hazy, and there was nothing else. Strange, could I have sensed wrongly? Su Yi was puzzled, but he quickly caught up with them and rushed towards the bright spot. When the three walked into the bright spot, the whole heaven and earth trembled violently. In an instant, a vast and ancient aura spread out. This kind of aura was less domineering than the innate Saint King Chi, but more boundless and righteous. It gave people a feeling that it had transcended thousands of years and existed forever. This Saint King Chi is so rich. Sui exclaimed. In his mind, the Tian Yuan Beast soul emitted a blazing light like the sun, as if it was on the verge of coming out. It's the Saint King Chi. Lu Ruashi couldn't help but be excited, and her body trembled slightly. What surprised Su Yi was that after Xiahong Lu entered the bright spot, the aura around him became incomparably strong and scorching. The space around him started to distort, and a tornado-like storm appeared in the golden light. This guy, his secret is about to be revealed. The bright light dispersed, and golden rain poured down from the sky. What appeared next was mountains and rivers that stretched as far as the eyes could see. They were like dragons with their heads held high, and there was a great aura that could break through thousands of years. The countless mountains in front of him were like giant towers that reached to the sky, and after looking at them for a long time, there was still a strange feeling. On that mountain, the one sitting there is the innate Saint Emperor. Xiahong Lu opened his eyes, and a terrifying aura gushed out. Through the illusory scene, Xiahong Lu's eyes widened. At the same time, on the other side, Lu Ruashi was looking at another mountain. The vast and ancient aura was endless, and it made one's heart beat faster. She shouted, "Su, look, the one sitting on that mountain is the previous Saint Emperor." Su looked around, and with the blood demon killing God sword on his shoulder, he quickly circulated the Origin Supreme art, and the scene in front of him started to distort. The desolate and ancient aura also started to dissipate. Everything in front of him was normal to Su Yi, except for the bottomless crack in the middle of the mountain. Chapter 2011. Are they all under an illusion? Qi Feihong's mouth was wide open as he looked at Lu Ruashi and Xiahong Lu with a solemn expression. He bowed solemnly toward the opposite mountain. It's just an illusion because they have sage ruler Qi. This illusion has no evil intentions, so let them go. Perhaps it's the sacred mountain's way of commemorating the ancestors. Su Yi raised his eyes and looked at the surrounding mountains. They stood tall and majestic, but in the middle was a barren plain. The huge crack was like an eye looking at the world. Su Yi's hand unconsciously touched the blood demon killing God sword. At this moment, an ancient voice sounded in his mind. "Kid, this sword of yours must have a great connection with the sacred mountain. Let's go to the crack and take a look." Xiahong Lu and Lu Ruashi had also come back to their senses. Lu Ruashi adjusted her appearance, and a trace of determination flashed in her eyes. "Su Yi, you're right. We should be excited. We've never been to this place before, but it's worshipping so many previous emperors of the sacred mountain. The sacred sovereign must be up to something. Let's go to the crack quickly." Su Yi nodded. Light flickered under his feet, and he rushed toward the crack in the center like a ferocious beast. Standing on the crack, a majestic ancient aura spread out. Su Yi looked at the bottomless abyss. The energy was like a pulling hand, constantly pulling the three of them down. The space around Lu Ruashi and Xiahong Lu was enveloped by a white halo. "Seems like something is pulling us down," Su Yi shouted in a low voice. As the powerful energy in the abyss became denser, Su Yi could clearly feel the Yuan Qi in his body beginning to surge. Whoosh! Su Yi stepped on the edge. His eyes darkened, and his aura collapsed as he fell into the abyss. "Let's go." Xiahong Lu did not delay. Her eyes suddenly became excited. With a shake of her yellow robe, a faint golden light lingered around her body. In an instant, the temperature of the space rose sharply. Her aura also made people tremble for no reason as she rushed into the abyss. In an instant, the narrow gap swayed unsteadily. The earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Ripples rolled out like waves. Su Yi, who was constantly falling, could feel that the qi in his body was recovering at an unimaginable speed. Because of the north wind, the Dantian Sea of qi had become extremely full, and there were even faint signs of it being full. There must be great benefits hidden inside, the three of them exclaimed at the same time. After an unknown period of time, he finally landed on the ground again. This time, there were no strange phenomena in the surroundings. There was only a golden stone platform with mysterious patterns flowing on it, and it was shining with a translucent luster. As soon as they landed on the ground, the three of them started to sink down at the same time. The feeling of stepping on tofu shocked them. It must be because of this stone platform. The huge amount of energy has caused the surrounding terrain to change. He channeled his primordial chi, and a hint of excitement appeared in his eyes as he quickly walked towards the stone platform. The stone platform in front of them was sparkling and translucent, dazzling with golden light. It was triangular in shape and constantly emitted a desolate and ancient aura. Sui said, "The three of us will each take one side. Put your hands in." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Ruashi and Xiehong Lu both placed their hands on the stone platform. Sui glanced at them, then took out the blood demon killing god sword from his back and placed his hand on the stone platform. The secret of the three of us should be revealed now, he muttered to himself. The divine radiance of the Origin Supreme technique shone with a yellow light. As the primordial chi palm slammed down, a dazzling golden light suddenly shot out from the stone platform. Boom! The ground that was as soft as mud suddenly shook, and three huge spatial vortexes appeared where the three of them were standing. In an instant, a space formed under their feet. In a state of vacuum, the three of them were wrapped in golden light and gradually closed their eyes. "Attention!" Sui shouted softly. The primordial chi in his body began to become chaotic. Before he could say anything, his heart was already covered by a huge golden light. Lu Ruashi and Xiehong Lu had already closed their eyes. Above the golden light, the spatial vortexes whizzed out like tornadoes. After closing his eyes, Sui felt as if his soul was being extracted. His body began to drift away from the world. "Wake up, kid!" The Iron Soulfish's voice and Chi Feihong's voice constantly called out from afar. Sui tried his best to wake up, but there was an even more ancient power pulling him, preventing him from waking up. "Master, why did it change? It's a sea of gold and a sea of red. Why aren't you coming to play with Ping-er?" Ping-er's childish voice sounded in his ear. "Ping-er," Sui whispered, trying his best to open his eyes. The hand holding the blood demon killing god sword kept trembling. Sui's lips opened, but there were still no signs of him waking up. Behind him, divine radiance shone, and the sound of wind and thunder resounded. He pushed his soul energy to the maximum, and a voice sounded from within the golden light. "Art of driving the heavens? How do you know the art of controlling the heavens?" "This sword, hiss," the refined male voice said, then disappeared in the wind and thunder. Sui's heart inexplicably panicked. The three of them were in an unguarded state. Subconsciously, they told themselves that they must wake up and not be blinded by the golden radiance. When the warm golden radiance began to surge into his soul, Sui could feel that the golden radiance was like a god, prying into his past. Grandpa, uncle, Father Su Jinyuan, whom he had never met, his mother, Su Wan'er, Wang Shangwu, Lu Ruashi, Duamu Xiaoman, Ling Qianxue, Yinjing. Their faces, voices, and smiles appeared in front of him. I think Palace Master Duamu is very good. When we don't have to run around anymore, we can go back to Barbarian City and live a leisurely life." "Sui, actually your father, Sai, and your mother, uncle doesn't know where to start." "Are you okay? I know you have suffered a lot since you were young. You have to understand me." "Where are you? I miss you so much. Will you come and see me?" Sui couldn't help but exclaim. In this golden radiance, his parents, whom he had never seen before, had appeared. Was this an illusion? No, this is definitely not an illusion. Sui closed his eyes, a chill running down his spine as he muttered softly, "Father, Mother, misses you so much." Then he gradually calmed down, and a few voices sounded in Sui's ears. Brother Su-yi, don't come to the Yin family, to the ancient cloud immortal sect. I'm afraid my father will do something to you. Su-yi, don't come to the ancient cloud immortal sect. Don't worry, I will find you for Sister Wanner. Barbarian City, yes. I will go to Barbarian City to find you. Su-yi, I have set my mind on you. No one can take you away from me. Juqian Palace, and I will always be waiting for you. As graceful as a startled swan and as vigorous as a swimming dragon, countless voices reverberated. When the golden splendor surged towards the heavenly origin demonic soul, the divine light was resplendent and radiant. Su, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Have you found something for me to recover my body? Qian Xue, it's Qian Xue. Chapter 2012. Qian Xue's voice continued to reverberate. In his sea of consciousness, the heavenly origin demon soul shone brightly like a dazzling sun. Wake up, wake up! Su-yi gripped the blood demon killing god sword tightly, his veins popping out. Beads of sweat flowed down from Su-yi's throat. The temperature of his aura gradually rose, and a hazy golden light surrounded him. After being enveloped by the golden light, the surrounding wind whistled. The heavenly origin demon soul in his sea of consciousness suddenly trembled, and the golden light also retreated. The intense headache made Su-yi scream. Su-yi could feel that when the golden light came into contact with the mysterious light ball, it suddenly bowed down and retreated like a demonic beast. Opening his eyes, he shook his head, and the scene in front of him gradually became clear. On the golden stone platform, a part of the stone platform in front of him had already opened. This is... Su-yi squinted his eyes and patted his temples. His muscles were sore, and his soul was throbbing. He still hadn't recovered from the shock. The stone platform formed a triangular stone pillar, and when Su-yi woke up, a part of it was exposed to the outside like a blossoming flower. Mysterious runes lingered on it, and a lustrous ball of light was in it. It was crystal clear, like a newborn life. This should be the secret that the sacred sovereign was talking about. Su-yi muttered, and a trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. The stone platform in front of him was extremely mysterious, and it actually required 3 people with the chi of Saint Ruler to open it. It was likely that the secret inside was earth-shattering. Mother, where are you? Lu Ruoshi still hadn't woken up. She stood in front of the stone platform, and her face was pale. Under the golden light, there wasn't a trace of blood. After pondering for a while, Su-yi quietly withdrew his hand after sensing the flow of Yuan Qi and walked to Lu Ruoshi's side. What a strong Qi of Saint Ruler! Lu Ruoshi's body was shrouded in a golden light. The dazzling golden light made people's hearts throb, and their souls want to crawl. This aura is extremely pure. It's the ultimate metal attribute energy. The Iron Soulfish also sensed the unusual change in Lu Ruoshi's body and warned Su-yi not to be careless. Before Su-yi could continue probing, Lu Ruoshi continued, Mother, don't go. I'll go find you after I'm done with my cultivation, okay? Mother? Su-yi's gaze changed slightly. The Lu clan had been the city lord of Man City since he was young. He did not have any memories of Lu Ruoshi's mother in his memories, nor had he heard Lu Ruoshi mention it. Now, under the influence of the golden light, Lu Ruoshi actually revealed the secrets hidden deep in her heart. Ruoshi. Su-yi raised his eyebrows and circulated the origin supreme art. Instantly, a monstrous pressure gushed out from his palm and spread over Lu Ruoshi's body. The golden light quickly retreated to the center of the stone platform, as if it had seen its nemesis. With a soft moan, Lu Ruoshi lost consciousness and fell into Su-yi's arms. He frowned slightly and placed Lu Ruoshi on the soft ground. The stone platform in front of Lu Ruoshi extended again, and the entire stone platform was now 2/3 open. Su-yi took out a bottle of spiritual liquid and placed his palm on Lu Ruoshi's pulse. A vast amount of pressure poured into Lu Ruoshi's body, and a surge of aura gushed out. Su-yi immediately withdrew his hand. This aura is... It seems that your little wife isn't as simple as you think. Since the Lord is so protective of her, it seems that they aren't just relatives. Chi Feihong's eyes lit up as he stroked his beard and spoke with a smile. After pondering for a while, Su Yi looked at Xiahong House. Xiahong House's situation was not much better than Lu Ruashi's. The side of his face was slanted to his temples, and large beads of sweat kept flowing down. The long robe behind him fluttered in the wind, and a faint, blazing pressure filled the air. Su Yi looked up and saw that the golden light that enveloped Xiahong House was pale yellow, and the other golden light that flowed out from Xiahong House's body was sharp gold. Boom! In a space, a vast and fierce aura surged violently, and the wind and clouds surged out of nowhere. How can there be two saint ruler auras? Su Yi's eyes flashed, and he was constantly shocked. Then, Su Yi's lips curled into a smile. He nodded and said softly, "It has always been said that Xiahong House was self-taught. Now, it has been proven that there is another saint ruler aura in his body. But where did he get it from?" As soon as he finished speaking, Xiahong House's eyes began to twitch. A blazing aura shot up into the sky from his body, and a large area of the space instantly changed color. Whoosh! The two powerful metal attribute auras on Xiahong House's body began to merge. The terrifying temperature directly filled the air and condensed in the sky. Boom! In the distance, lightning roared in the boundless sky. The metal attribute energy between heaven and earth gathered endlessly, and there was even a faint energy of heaven's might. A metal attribute phenomenon? Feeling the heaven's might, Su Yi's eyes narrowed. After activating the Origin Supreme technique, the intense pressure and Su Yi's aura resisted each other, and they were evenly matched. Bang! Bang! Soon, Xiahong House's skin began to turn golden and translucent. The domineering aura filled the sky, and the surging heat began to spread from his body. Not good. Xiahong House can't hold on. Su Yi stood up and rushed into the sky with the blood demon killing god sword in his hand. He saw that the last piece of the stone platform had begun to open. A faint golden light rose into the sky, and the gentle light instantly dissipated the powerful energy around Xiahong House. In the hazy light, a faint voice sounded. "Red House, I knew that you would come here in the end." The Lord's voice? Su Yi raised his eyebrows and glanced at Xiahong House. Her face was distorted, but her aura was normal. Then, Su Yi listened carefully to the old voice in the light. "This place is the Eye of the Golden Sky, Qianyuan Formation, and it is also the gate of life of the sacred mountain. Perhaps when you hear this voice, I will no longer be here, but I believe that the sacred mountain will rise again." Su Yi finally understood why the Lord wanted the three of them to come here. She had already planned to leave a trace of her voice here. The light shone with a crystalline luster, and the Lord's voice sounded again. 28 years ago, when I found the Holy Emperor, he told me that you are most likely the reincarnation of the other half of the Golden Sky Suppressing Stone. He asked me to bring you back to the sacred mountain and protect you until you grow up. I spent 20 years to build this golden stone platform. Only you and 2 other people with the purest chi of the sage ruler can open it. It seems like the Holy Emperor was right. The voice paused for a moment, and then it sounded again. When the Holy Emperor received the whereabouts of the Golden Sky Suppressing Stone, he rushed to the Chaos Realm and was ambushed by the Long family. The whereabouts of the Emperor's sword were unknown, and the half of the chi of the sage ruler that the sacred mountain relied on was hidden in the Emperor's sword. Now that you are here, the sacred mountain has found the other half of the chi of the sage ruler. In the future, you will help the sacred mountain find the Emperor's sword and combine the 2 chi of the sage ruler into one. Chapter 2013. Su Yi, who was standing tall beside her, instantly looked at the blood demon killing god sword in his hand. His heart was beating wildly. Blood demon killing god sword? The sage monarch's sword? Could the other half of the sage monarch aura be in this sword? Honglu, please understand my painstaking efforts. It's not that I don't want to take care of you. You have an extraordinary background, and I can't ignore the people of the Sage Mountain to take good care of you. You have the other half of the Sage Monarch aura, and you need to figure out the cultivation method yourself. But at this point, everything is worth it. From now on, the Sage Mountain will depend on you. It's time for me to accompany the Sage Emperor. Clang! Inside the stone platform, the mysterious light ball dissipated, and metal elemental yuan qi spread out. The entire space was dyed in a terrifying golden color. Bang! Bang! An earth-shattering explosion sounded. The golden aura in the light ball covered the sky like a python and dragon. It roared and rushed into the sky. As the sound dissipated, Shui Honglu opened his arms and closed his eyes. Two different colored yellow lights intertwined above his head and rushed into Shui Honglu's body with a huge energy that transcended heaven and earth. Suddenly, the entire surrounding space was filled with raging waves. The terrifying heat caused the entire space to distort. Under the golden light, the space ripples all over the sky emitted bursts of white smoke. The terrifying energy around the Xiehong house exploded in an instant. Shocking energy ripples spread out and destroyed everything in its path. In an instant, the heavens and earth trembled. Bang! Falling to the ground, Shui Honglu was unconscious. His aura was weak. Su Yi frowned. He still hadn't recovered from what he had just said. Shui Honglu's handsome face was golden. He had lost consciousness, and his brows were slightly raised. He seemed to be digesting the Sage Monarch aura in the array core. Let's bring them out first. Su Yi let out a long breath and carried Shui Honglu to Lu Ruoxi's side. Looking at the two of them, one was Lu Ruoxi, whose body had undergone huge changes, and she had a mother that he had never seen before. Shui Honglu was actually the other half of the Golden Heaven Suppressing Stone. How could this not be shocking? When the golden light flashed, the air was filled with spatial energy. The originally soft ground was instantly filled with countless strange flowers and precious herbs. In a split second, the entire eye of the formation was filled with a medicinal fragrance. An extremely condensed energy filled the space between heaven and earth. Su Yi's eyes instantly lit up. Su Yi's lips curled up as he glanced at Xiehong House and Lu Ruoxi before walking towards the array core. This is indeed a land of treasures. Now that the array core has been opened, the exit must be there. The completely exposed golden stone platform had returned to normal. The triangular stone platform was like a blooming flower with a sword mark in the middle. Suddenly, a bold idea appeared in his mind, and a sly smile appeared on his face. Formation Eye, Blood Demon Killing God Sword, Sage Monarch Emperor's Sword. If we don't destroy the Sacred Mountain now, when will we? With that, Su Yi raised the Blood Demon Killing God Sword above his head. With a flash of the blade, it headed straight for the sword mark groove that was glowing faintly. Boom! There was a loud bang behind his ear, and a huge green sword light whizzed over like a furious dragon. The moment the sword light appeared, the metallic energy of heaven and earth surged endlessly, making one's heart tremble. With his back facing Su Yi, Yuan Qi rose from his feet, and he turned in the air. He held the Blood Demon Killing God sword horizontally in front of him, blocking the sword light's momentum. Clang! A golden sound resounded, and a hurricane-like energy storm suddenly appeared in the huge space of the array core. The heavy sword in his hand buzzed, and Su Yi slid back more than 10 steps before stopping. Su Yi looked up and saw a man in white standing in the air with a dignified expression, staring at Su Yi. The middle-aged man in white looked elegant, and his eyes were like torches. Cold lightning shot out from his eyes as he spoke coldly. Su Yi, give me the sword in your hand, and I can send you out. Hearing this, Su Yi raised his chin, and his eyes lit up. He said in a low voice, "Seems like you know me? Hiss, where have I seen you before?" The corners of the middle-aged man's mouth moved slightly, and a domineering aura slowly flowed out from his body. He stared at the Blood Demon Killing God sword in Su Yi's hand and said, I won't repeat myself. Give me the sword. I won't make things difficult for you. Boom. Su-yi instantly circulated the art of driving the heavens, and his eyes gradually turned gloomy. He carefully looked at the middle-aged man's appearance, but he just couldn't recall where he had seen him before. Judging from the middle-aged man's aura and cultivation, he was at the third stage of the Yuan domain realm, so he could still put up a fight. Let me go, but what about them? The middle-aged man shook his head and pointed at the Xiehong pavilion. You can take the woman away, but this man is involved too much. I've been looking for him my entire life, and I won't give up so easily. As soon as he finished speaking, Su-yi secretly formed hand seals, and the aura of the Origin Supreme technique spread out. His eyes darkened as he stomped on the ground and charged towards the middle-aged man. Then there's no other way. In the next second, Su-yi's figure appeared in midair. Su-yi's speed clearly exceeded the middle-aged man's expectations, but after he spread out his Yuan domain realm cultivation, he quickly stabilized his footing. Buzz! An enormous demonic aura field enveloped Su-yi. The middle-aged man stared at Su-yi, and with a wave of his hand, countless roaring demonic beasts charged towards Su-yi. Retreat! Su-yi, who didn't give in, waved his sword. The demonic aura in his eyes flashed, and a majestic aura that seemed to have passed through the ancient world suddenly burst out. In an instant, a demonic sword ray flashed across the sky, and a blood-red arc shot out. Oh! Demonic roars resounded in the sky, and the few barbaric demonic beast silhouettes that had stopped attacking in the sky didn't delay any longer. They immediately fled, but the sword rays swept through them on their way back. Bang! Several energy explosions resounded, and an energy storm erupted like a volcano. Su-yi took the opportunity to jump out of the demonic aura field and said coldly, "You know how to use the barbaric demonic aura, but it's useless against me. How can you?" The middle-aged man's eyes darkened, and a trace of surprise flashed across his face. He sneered and raised the sword in his hand, and a nimble green sword ray shot towards Huang Xiaolong. The demonic aura field also smashed towards Su-yi like a cannonball. An enormous sword ray filled the sky, and an ancient aura pressed down on Su-yi's direction. Boom! A resounding sword cry rang out, and a bright sword arc shattered the surrounding space inch by inch. Looking at the boundless sword shadow in the sky, Su-yi instantly understood what was going on, and the corner of his lips curled up. It's really you. I also know this move. Demonic Spirit's sword technique. A coldness that resembled ice crystals flowed out of his eyes. The blood demon killing god sword in Su-yi's hand roared as it connected with the heavens and earth. Several rays of light quickly pierced out in front of him. They were also ethereal and agile, carrying with them an ancient aura as they surged out. Chapter 2014. Pung Pung. Above the void, the light and desolate sword chi drifted around as the two of them clashed. In an instant, the ripples in the void were torn apart, and a series of sonic booms could be heard. Gravel shot out, golden light flashed, and plants exploded. He saw that Su-yi was also using the same sword technique, but it was light and elegant, and even carried a desolate and ancient aura of majesty. It was vigorous and divine, strange and tricky, and incomparably exquisite. It was far superior to his demon spirit sword technique. The white-robed, middle-aged man's eyes were filled with shock, and he retracted his third layer Yuan domain cultivation. He withdrew half of his demonic spirit sword art and rushed towards Su-yi. However, the demonic chi domain that was pushed to the center continued to blast towards Su-yi. The demonic beasts shook the heavens, and their roars echoed throughout the mountains. The overwhelming demonic chi dyed the entire heaven and earth, and the gorgeous demonic beasts rushed towards Su-yi like a tidal wave. Along the way, the void exploded, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared. Boom! Su-yi stood in the air calmly, and his eyes were indifferent. He immediately circulated a profound hand seal, and the demonic god battle armor covered his body. At the same time, the sword tip flew out, and he shouted, "Blood Phoenix split the sky. Go! Come, Kung!" The gigantic monarch sparrow's shadow rose behind Su Yi's back. Its flaming eyes opened, and scorching godly flames spurted out from its wings. Along with the sword aura, the ripples along the way twisted, and the aura shattered. The blood demon killing god sword in Su Yi's hand was incomparably sharp, and it was wrapped in the Emperor Sparrow's energy. Immediately, the boundless energy in the surroundings clashed with the demonic Qi domain. Qi. Flames soared into the sky, and the combination of the sword ray and the rain of fire caused the demonic Qi to spread out. In an instant, the earth quaked, and from the center of the array, a shockwave exploded out like a bomb. The entire mountain range was in a state of collapse. Su Yi and the white-robed, middle-aged man retreated at the same time, leaving two long white scars in the void. The space trembled, and the heaven and earth rumbled, and the wind howled. Ga. Su Yi, who was holding onto the blood-fiend, god-slaying sword, had a slightly pale complexion. The qi and blood in his chest were roiling. The domain energy of a third-stage origin domain was like a 5,000-kilogram boulder pressing down on his heart, causing him to be unable to breathe for a long time. On the other hand, the white-clothed middle-aged man, standing in the distance, had his mouth agape. It was as though he had seen a ghost, causing his hair to stand on end. Gripping the blood demon-killing god sword tightly, Su Yi knew very well that if Shangwan Tianqian had not withdrawn his strength midway, he would not be standing here in such a good condition. "Shangwan Tianqian, when are you going to stop pretending?" As the cold words fell from midair, Su Yi's murderous aura spread out once again. His eyes were filled with arrogance, as if he was judging someone. "Su Yi, do you know him?" Qi Fei Hong exclaimed at the same time. The man in front of them looked to be in his 40s and was rather young. However, his martial cultivation was not ordinary, and there was a strange, ancient aura around him. Su Yi actually knew such a strange person, wasn't it strange? The face of the white-robed middle-aged man, whom Su Yi called Shangwan Tianqian, froze on the spot. His chiseled eyebrows furrowed, and his gaze fell on Su Yi, revealing a puzzled expression. "Little brother, you know me?" Shangwan Tianqian probed. His tone was filled with extreme fear, and his eyes were gloomy as a murderous intent poured out. Shangwan Tianqian had not been called by anyone for many years. At this moment, it sounded both familiar and unfamiliar. It sounded familiar because this name was buried deep in his heart, and he had never forgotten it. It was unfamiliar because this name was called by someone outside of the Spirit Ancient Village. This meant that this young man had a deep relationship with the Spirit Ancient Village. The surrounding violent wind was strong enough to cause one's heart to tremble. However, Shangwan Tianqian's reaction calmed Su Yi down. He had guessed correctly. The man in front of him was Shangwan Shiwei's father, Shangwan Tianqian. With the blood demon killing god sword hanging on his back, Su Yi stood in the air. His robes fluttered behind him, and a trace of coldness and disappointment flashed in his eyes. "Do you know Shangwan Shiwei? Grandma Shangwan. Do you still remember her? Do you still remember all the villagers of the Spirit Ancient Village? Tell me." His voice was like a bolt of lightning that struck his heart. Shangwan Tianqian's eyes were filled with shock and even a little sluggish. "Who are you? How do you know about the Spirit Ancient Village?" As soon as he finished speaking, Shangwan Tianqian's killing intent was unprecedentedly strong. A gust of wind that was strong enough to tear space apart swept out, and the space around him crumbled, revealing ripples in the air. Such a strong reaction means that you have not forgotten your roots. Only then will they not have waited for you for so many years in vain. Su Yi could feel the killing intent from Shangwan Tianqian and nodded lightly. He appeared beside Shangwan Tianqian in a flash and completely retracted his aura. Su Yi's gaze landed on Shangwan Tianqian's face. His eyebrows were sharp, and his face was handsome. Hidden in the depths of his brows was an extraordinary arrogance that matched the temperament of the spirit ancient village. Come! The blood demon killing god sword turned, and a bloody light filled the sky. The blood demon killing god sword was hung on Su Yi's back. Su Yi's black eyes were incomparably deep, and his lips curled into a smile. You and Sister Shiwei look so alike. They have waited so long for you. Where have you been all these years? I have been looking for the holy King Emperor's sword, which is your blood demon killing god sword. Shangguan Tianxin's face darkened, and his eyes were suddenly filled with loneliness. His gaze landed on the blood demon killing god sword, and it lingered there for a long time. Subconsciously touching the blood demon killing god sword, Su Yi said softly, "You are also looking for this sword? Does this sword have something to do with the Tian Yao school and the spirit ancient village?" Shangguan Tianxin's eyes trembled, and his handsome face was filled with surprise. He said excitedly, "My mother even told you about the Tian Yao school, Grandma Shangguan." Su Yi said hoarsely as he recalled the pain of Grandma Shangguan dying in his arms. "Yes, I still have this item." Su Yi rummaged in his dimensional bag and took out a piece of dark red jade pendant that was engraved with mysterious patterns. There were also many ancient runes carved on it. The jade token's aura was simple and unadorned. It looked ordinary, but it faintly emitted a powerful demonic aura. The words Heavenly Demon Sect were engraved on it. Bang! In the sky, Shangguan Tianxin's face changed dramatically. His eyes were filled with excitement. He squatted down and said respectfully, "Faction leader, you are the faction leader personally appointed by the Demon Lord. The Tian Yao school has a chance to prosper. My eyes were not sharp enough to recognize you, and I almost caused a disaster. Stand up and speak. There is no need to bow now." Su Yi shook his head and quickly helped Shangguan Tianxin up. Chapter 2015. At this moment, Shangguan Tianxin's eyes were filled with tears. He could not calm down for a long time. He said, "Our spirit ancient village has finally found a new leader of the Tian Yao school. The Tian Yao school will prosper. I can finally kill those who destroyed the school with my own hands." He thought of the people who destroyed the school. When he destroyed the spirit ancient village, the sacred mountain was here. Even if a holy venerable saved his life, it could not erase the hatred between the sacred mountain and himself and the Tian Yao school. "You said that you have been looking for this sword? What is this sword?" Su Yi took down the sword and stroked the blood-red sword pattern with his palm. "According to my many years of research, this is the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword of the Tianfeng Martial Pavilion." As soon as he said that, Su Yi's eyes lit up, and he carefully looked at the simple and unadorned heavy sword in his hand. "Sect leader, did the previous sect leader leave behind his legacy in the Chaos region?" Shangguan Tianxin's eyes gleamed as he looked at Su Yi. From the demonic aura emanating from Su Yi's armor, Shangguan Tianxin had already guessed something. Su Yi nodded his head. "That's right. This demon god battlesuit was passed down to me by Master Sky Splitter. I got it from a mysterious, illusory spirit world during the Alliance Conference in the Chaos Zone. I met Master Sky Splitter there." Shangguan Tianxin's eyes lit up as he stared at the resplendent armor on Su Yi's body. His fingers trembled slightly as he spoke in a low voice. "That's right. I have traveled the heavenly barbarian continent for more than 20 years, but I did not have as many fortuitous encounters as you. It was only a few years ago that I thought there must be something left by our ancestors in the Chaos Zone. I didn't expect you to have it already." Shangguan Tianxin's eyes trembled. He sighed and continued, "The Heavenly Luo Mountain and the Chaos region are the two inheritances left behind by the master of the heaven-splitting sect many years ago. I learned from the Spirit Ancient Village's records that the Heavenly Demon Sect and the Heavenly Wind Martial Pavilion have been on good terms for generations. They ruled over the Heavenly Barbarian race and the Demon race, and stood aloof from worldly affairs. The Heavenly Wind Martial Pavilion was founded with the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword and the Heavenly Metal Suppressing Stone. In the end, the sacred mountain obtained the heavenly wind divine sword from the Tian Yao school in the process of destroying the Tian Yao school. Shangguan Tianchen glanced at the eye of the array, where golden light was surging and the Holy King's qi was slowly flowing out like a fountain. He said, after that, the Tian Yao school was destroyed because of these two items. Tianchen knew that if he wanted to revive the Tian Yao school, he had to find a heavenly golden stone and the heavenly wind godly sword. Only then would he have the chance to find the headquarters of the Tian Yao school. Then he would unite with the old friends of Tian Feng, revive the Tian Yao school, and kill his enemies with his own hands. As soon as he finished speaking, Shangguan Tianchen's gaze flickered. His bloodshot eyes were filled with a murderous aura. You've worked hard all these years. Su, he wanted to say something, but stopped. He patted Shangguan Tianchen's shoulder heavily. The man in front of him had endured humiliation for the sake of the Tian Yao school. He had no reason to criticize him. The two of them came to Xiahong Lu and Lu Ruoxi's side. Su Yi glanced at Xiahong Lu and said softly, I didn't expect this guy to be the reincarnation of the other half of the heavenly metal suppressing stone. The Heavenly Wind Martial Pavilion is the #1 martial arts faction in the Tianan continent. It's very mysterious, and it's not surprising that they have some strange, secret techniques. It would be strange if the Heavenly Wind Martial Pavilion didn't have a backup. Shangguan Tianchen's gaze stopped on Xiahong Lu. The golden light was dazzling, and the aura was soaring with the wind. There was a huge change. Now, this child has merged with 2 parts of the Holy King's qi. He is the most complete successor of the Heavenly Metal Suppressing Stone. If he were to become our enemy in the future, the consequences would be unimaginable. Sect leader, Shangguan Tianchen was slightly worried. His murderous aura floated out, and a cold light flashed. Su Yi's lips curled. He waved his hand and said softly, the Long family and other families destroyed the Heavenly Wind Martial Pavilion, and the Saint Mountain was involved. Of course, they can't get away with it. He heard what the saint said just now. If he is sensible, he will make the right choice when the time comes. I'm afraid he will be tormented again. One is the Saint Mountain, and the other is the Heavenly Wind Martial Pavilion. What a blessing. Su Yi took a deep breath and put away the demon god battlesuit. His hands moved quickly, and the mysterious runes surrounded his body again. He walked softly to Lu Ruoxi's side and squatted down. The Holy King's qi in Ruoxi's body seems to have activated a seal hidden in her body. The memories from many years ago are also being released. Shangguan Tianchen tilted his head and leaned forward. His soul pressure surged out, but it was repelled by the Holy King's qi around Lu Ruoxi. Shangguan Tianchen's eyes flickered, and he said, Sect leader, I have the dragon ancestor's medicine scripture with me. I inherited it from a master by chance. After we get out of the array, I will give it to you. I believe that the 9th Holy Maiden will be able to wake up. The dragon ancestor's medicine scripture. Qi Fei Hong exclaimed, and a greedy light shot out from his beady eyes. Su Yi nodded and said softly, All right, it's getting late. Let's think of a way to get out of here. The array core is here. The day of the Saint Mountain's destruction is not far away. Shangguan Tianchen then supported Xiahong Lu and Lu Ruoxi with each arm, and watched Su Yi walk towards the Golden Stone platform. Boom! The faint Holy King's qi was like a candle that was about to be extinguished. It was overflowing with divine light, and it was like an ancient call, attracting Su Yi. Since you are the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword, help me get out of here. Help me reach the peak of the martial Tao. Su Yi's deep eyes flashed with a trace of cold lightning. The blood demon, slaying God in his hand, seemed to have sensed something, and the sword buzzed incessantly. Master, master, the golden ground is shaking. Ping is scared. Ping Er's childish voice came from the sword, and she was shocked. Ping find a place to hide. We're going out. Protect yourself. Oh. The sword instantly stopped shaking. The blood-red patterns were extremely mysterious, and they were suffused with a blood-red luster. Bang! Su-yi aimed at the groove in the center of the stone platform, and his chi burst out with all his might. He raised the blood demon, slaying God above his head, and his eyes bulged with determination as he shouted, "Open for me!" A red light flashed in the air, and a dazzling golden light seeped out from the tip of the sword. A strong wind blew in the surroundings, and Su-yi's body was blown high into the air like a kite. His feet were facing the sky, and only his hands were tightly gripping the hilt of the sword. In the blink of an eye, Su-yi's chi burst out from his body, and the Origin Supreme technique was activated rapidly. Under his skin, faint dragon patterns with the primordial dragon might whizzed out. Within the whirlwind, a sonic boom rang out. Su-yi's face was flushed red, and he was using all his strength to prevent himself from being blown away by the wind. His tendons and bones were taut, and his flesh was torn apart. Tiny blood vessels were torn apart by the wind. The strength of faction leader's body is so strong. Shangguan Tianqian looked at Su-yi's powerful chi from afar, and his eyes were filled with shock. He grabbed Xiahong Lu and Lu Ruoxi tightly, and prepared to charge out of the golden sky, Qianyuan formation at any time. Chapter 2016. Just a little bit more. Brat, do your best. At this point, the sword tip was only an inch away from the eye of the array. Su-yi gritted his teeth and spat out a mouthful of blood. The Sky Origin Golden Sky Array was the guardian array of the Saint Mountain. In the past 10,000 years, hundreds of generations of experts had been born. How could it be so easy to conquer? In his mind, an ethereal voice drifted into his ears. It was the voice of the Iron Soulfish. Su-yi listened carefully. The Heavenly Wind Divine Sword is half a sky, suppressing gold stone. The Saint Mountain's array was born from this stone. The metal attribute is not your Yuan Qi attribute. You must learn to go with the flow and not face it head-on. Otherwise, you will die without a burial ground. The Iron Soulfish shouted loudly. That's right, go with the flow. Su-yi repeated this sentence in his mind. Suddenly, the Tian Yuan demonic soul trembled violently. It was as hot as the sun, and a dense energy flowed out from the mysterious ball of light. The array open. The scene of him refining the water Yuan Qi was still vivid in his mind. If he could refine the water-suppressing heavenstone, what more this half-a-sky-suppressing goldstone? Pump! In an instant, the space around Su-yi turned into waves and receded. His hands were tightly gripping the sword tightly. With a loud shout, a powerful ancient energy gushed out from his palms. From the tip of the sword, the metal attribute Yuan Qi that had not been released for a long time gushed out. Golden light burst out from the tip of the sword, and the majestic metal attribute energy caused the wind and clouds to surge, darkening the sky and earth. Boom! Su-yi shouted loudly. A powerful force burst out from his hands as he activated the supreme art of origin. The tip of the sword sank down again, and a powerful force pressed down on the eye of the array. Golden light burst out, and the eye of the array was like a surging wave of metal, spreading out and enveloping Su-yi's entire body. The terrifying energy storm swept across the land like a hurricane. Even Shangguan Tianqian, who was watching from afar, was stunned. Such an intense metal attribute energy was so dense that he could not help but retreat a few dozen zhang. His face was pale, and his aura was turbulent. The black hair on his shoulders fluttered in the wind. Shangguan Tianqian could not believe that this energy was released by this young man. With half of the gold heaven-suppressing stone in hand, Su-yi followed the changes in the energy within the sword and guided the metal energy into the eye of the array. In just 3 breaths of time, Su-yi had already adapted to the terrifying metal energy. After experiencing a space-time storm, an energy storm of this level is no longer impossible for Su-yi. Qi Feihong narrowed his eyes. His gaze was calm, as though he was used to it. Boom! A loud metallic clang resounded once again as Su-yi plunged the heavy sword into the groove like a bolt of lightning. Clang! Golden light soared into the sky. It was sacred and vast, and could not be blasphemed. A domineering and majestic aura enveloped the world. In the distance, the wind and clouds roiled, and the divine light that filled the sky was swiftly pushed aside. Rays of golden light shone on the high mountain, and it was a dignified and imposing sight. As for Su-yi, a large amount of information flooded into his mind. The information was like an ocean, surging incomparably. When Sui glanced at it, he couldn't help being shocked. Saint Ruler Aura. Half of Saint Ruler Aura. The corner of Su-yi's mouth twitched. Before he could take a closer look, the heaven origin demon's soul exploded with light again. Immediately after, a vast amount of information surged in like a mountain. Su-yi saw it clearly, but it was an even more mysterious rune, mysterious and unfathomable. When he looked at it carefully, it was similar to the art of driving the heavens and the heavenly wind sword essence outline taught by Duanmu Qingtian. This is when he was enveloped in the golden light. Su-yi's soul energy was also being depleted like flowing water. Just as he was about to be emptied, he felt a headache. The runes in front of Su-yi gathered into a ball. It was none other than the layout of the entire golden sky of Qianyuan Array and the method to use the array core. "It's done," the Iron Soulfish exclaimed. "Secmaster, it's done." Chi Feihong was even more surprised. "Phew, Pinger is so tired." The blood demon killing god sword was stuck straight in the groove. Within the sword body world, Pinger sat on the ground, sweating profusely. At the same time, Su-yi's eyes trembled. A stream of blood spurted out. Without hesitation, Su-yi's hands left the sword and formed hand seals with lightning speed. The art of controlling heaven was activated again to stabilize the soul energy consumption in his mind. The metal element was extremely lethal. Compared to conquering the water element, the amount of yuan qi and soul energy consumed was incomparable. Boom! The surging power of golden light in the surroundings whizzed up, forming a massive vortex in the end. The space around them was gradually distorted. The whirlpool spun in front of Su-yi, flickering with electric light. It was the exit of the array core of the golden sky of Qianyuan Array. Phew! After a few breaths, Su-yi, who had retracted his yuan qi, stood up and staggered. It was obvious that he hadn't recovered yet. His eyes were filled with stars. Shangguan Tianshun, who had no time to be surprised, quickly brought Zhuanglu and Lu Ruashi over. His shock turned into anxiety as he asked, "Sectmaster, how are you? Are you all right?" Su-yi closed his eyes and secretly circulated his yuan qi to soothe the vast energy of the Saint Ruler qi. Then he swallowed half a bottle of spiritual liquid and said faintly, "It's fine. The array core is under my control. The sacred mountain is now under my feet. Let's go out first." In front of the sacred martial hall, multicolored light rose and fell. The golden waves that filled the sky surged violently. It was sacred, heroic, and dignified. Above the void, the people of Tianlansi City and the Myriad Sword Alliance stood together with the Heavenly Palace. After a round of greetings, the relationship between the Heavenly Palace's elders and the aristocratic families became much more harmonious. What kind of fortuitous encounter did Su-yi go through? He actually reached the first level of Origin Ancestor Realm. He even has a demon domain expert behind him. Lan Ronglian said angrily. Her eyes were filled with jealousy and envy. On the other hand, Duanmu Xiaoman's blue eyes were crystal clear. Her mind was constantly thinking about Su-yi, who was in the Qianyuan Golden Sky Formation. She looked at the goddess-like Duanmu Xiaoman from time to time. Her heart swayed and her red lips moved. "Your eyes are very special." Duanmu Xiaoman looked down at the people on the sacred mountain. Her eyes were cold, like a peerless goddess looking down at the world. Thump! Duanmu Xiaoman's body trembled. Everyone in the Tianyuan continent knew about Goddess Yutian's voice. He was surprised that she would take the initiative to talk to him. He blinked his watery eyes and looked at Duanmu Xiaoman. You came here especially for Su E, right? If Su E comes out later, you can come back to the heavenly palace with us. Duamu Xiaoman was as cold as ice. Her eyes were as cold as ice. Everyone looked at Dugu Yuma. Dugu Yuma was the disciple of the one-finger sword god, Dugu Xie. However, no one had ever been invited to the heavenly palace. Everyone was shocked. Gu Yu, Long Pashan, and the other elders carefully sized up this woman with a pair of mysterious eyes. They all had very curious looks on their faces. Chapter 2017. Could it be that there was something special about this girl that made Goddess Yutian want to invite her into the palace? Everyone looked at Dugu Yuma and discussed in low voices. Their eyes scanned the people from Yuqian Palace. How is it? Is there any change in the soul-chasing stone? That holy flame guy is up to no good. I'm afraid that this kid will suffer. Duanmu Qing Tian, dressed in a black robe, came to Duanmu Xiaoman's side. A cold light shone through the black veil as he asked in a low voice. Duanmu Xiaoman shook her head. The soul-chasing stone in her snow-white hand shone brightly and released her soul energy rhythmically. There is no change. The light flashed before and the life signs changed. Now it is stable again. You should be out soon. Duanmu Xiaoman said coldly. Duanmu Xiaoman and Duanmu Qingtian were talking in a low voice, while Suruga and the Golden Flame Beast King looked at the man in black robe. His aura was strong, and his cultivation was unfathomable. They couldn't help but respect him. Who is this? Suruga didn't understand. His wrinkled eyes flashed as he asked Yue, trying to guess the identity of the man in black robe. Ah, this is the new consecrator of the Chaos region. He always wears a black robe, so Palace Master Duanmu is very respectful to him. Guyue stroked his beard and glanced at Duanmu Qingtian. He tried to avoid eye contact and said with a dry smile, "Consecrator." Guyu's words attracted a lot of people's attention. Lan Xiaoyin's soft and supple waist swayed, and her eyes also looked at the black-robed man. She suddenly thought of something, and a cunning light flashed in the corners of her eyes. "Sister Yuma, Goddess Yutian invited you into the palace. Why don't you bring me in as well?" Lan Xiaoyin's beautiful face had a hint of probing. This, Dugu Yuma was a little shocked and looked at Duanmu Xiaoman anxiously. Duanmu Xiaoman stared at the exit of the array and pretended not to hear anything. At this time, inside the Holy Mountain, more than 1 million Holy Mountain disciples were paying close attention to the changes in the sky of Qianyuan Golden Sky Array. The people on the peaks of the mountains were all looking forward to the new Saint Emperor of the Sacred Mountain. Their faces were flushed with excitement as they tried to guess who the new Saint Emperor of the Sacred Mountain would be. Of course, there was still one big question. As the 9th Holy Maiden, would Lu Ruashi choose to be the Holy Venerable or elope with Su E, the mortal enemy of the Sacred Mountain? In front of the Sacred Martial Hall, the invited guests looked into the distance. In the crowd, Lu Zhongyin, Sita Lu Yun, and the others stood side by side. The pressure exerted by the experts had already dissipated, but Lu Zhongyin was still frowning. "Brother Lu, looking at the situation, what are you worried about?" Situ Liuyun's tiger eyes were full of majesty, as if he could see through people's hearts. He stared at Lu Zongyuan. Lu Zhongyin stared blankly at the entrance of the sky of Qianyuan Golden Sky Array. His thoughts were suddenly interrupted by Situ Liuyun's voice. He raised his eyes, the corner of his mouth twitching, and said awkwardly, No, the Sacred Mountain Tournament. I'm just worried about Ruashi's decision. At that time, what will the Lu family do?" Sita Luyun stroked his beard, as if victory was in his hands, and nodded towards the entrance of the sky of Qianyuan Golden Sky Array. "I bet that Ruashi will choose Su E, and even if the Sacred Mountain does anything, the Shunjian Gate will go with the Lu family." "Master Situ, what are you doing?" Lu Zongyuan was surprised by Situ Liuyun's answer. The Shunjian Gate was the second largest force in the central region. Even if they did not rely on the Sacred Mountain, they were still quite afraid of the Sacred Mountain. Such a clear statement did not seem like something that the master of a sect could say casually. Ha ha ha. Situ Liyun laughed loudly, his eyes like a cold sword shooting out, looking at the experts above the void. I have gambled on Su Yi several times. One cannot always be taught a lesson by one person, and the Xinjiang Gate is even more impossible. Su Yi, the Xinjiang Gate will follow and depend on him. I am so, Elder Kuanga is also so, and my son Muyang is also so. Hearing that Situ Muyang was also a direct disciple of the Myriad Sword Alliance, Lu Zongyuan could not help but let out a long sigh and remain silent. Say, if the ninth Saintess chooses Su Yi, will the Sacred Mountain let him go out alive? Su Yi and the Sacred Mountain have a blood feud. Even if the Heavenly Palace and the aristocratic families are here, I'm afraid it will be a fierce battle. The Sacred Mountain is not to be trifled with. Don't forget, this is a place that has nurtured hundreds of generations of sacred emperors. Even if Su Yi has the ability to reach the heavens, if he doesn't go out lying down today, I will. The disciples of the Sacred Mountain between each mountain ridge were excited, whispering to each other about the Golden Sky Array, guessing the upcoming result. In front of the sacred martial hall, the elders of the Great Holy Sun and the Fifth Holy Sun's factions were all gloomy, and their furious expressions were exposed at this moment. Sacred Fire Elder, what did you mean when you said that the Great Holy Sun would definitely win? Duanmu Xiongtu's eyes were majestic, and a righteous aura shot out from between his eyebrows as he stared at the Sacred Fire Elder. Hearing the question, the Sacred Fire Elder was incomparably gloomy, and his eyes flashed with incomparable resentment as he sneered. Elder Xiongtu doesn't need to worry about this. The Great Holy Sun's divine power is unparalleled, and his talent is even more amazing. Naturally, victory is in his hands. Duanmu Xiongtu's voice slowly spread, and the coldness gradually condensed as he said softly, "Good. This old man will wait and see." However, it seems that Elder Xiongtu is quite concerned about Goddess Yutian. The corner of the Sacred Fire Elder's mouth twitched slightly, and his eyes were cold, as if he was talking about someone else. Duanmu Xiongtu's eyes moved, and a trace of anger emerged on his old face, but was immediately wiped away calmly. He said in a deep voice, "Sacred Fire Elder, it's better to deal with the matter at hand." Whoosh! As soon as his voice fell, Duanmu Xiongtu's body erupted with an explosive holy king aura, and like a golden meteor, he rushed to the entrance of the array. Frowning slightly, the Sacred Fire Elder gave a few elders behind him a signal with his eyes. In an instant, several elders left the crowd and went deep into the Sacred Mountain. Boom! Above the void, the entrance of the Golden Sky Array began to tremble, and a huge energy fluctuation was generated from the vortex at the entrance. The violent airflow was mixed with lightning and thunder, and in an instant, the auspicious clouds and golden light in the sky turned dark. It's coming out. Someone is coming out. Who is it? Is it Su Yi and Lu Ruashi? Or is it the birth of a new holy emperor? Many disciples of the Sacred Mountain held their breaths, and their eyes were wide open. Some even stood on their tiptoes and clenched their fists, looking at the energy vortex in the sky without saying a word. As the vortex at the entrance of the array grew bigger and bigger, the speed of its rotation became faster and faster. A surge of holy king aura that seemed to connect heaven and earth surged out fiercely, directly penetrating through the array. In an instant, the Sacred Mountain's thousands of peaks were vast and mighty, and golden light shone brightly. Like a storm, the golden waves caused the surrounding space to shatter. Looking from afar, it was like a million zhang of golden light, illuminating the earth. What a strong holy king aura! Duanmu Xiongtu's eyes were filled with shock, and his body rapidly retreated several feet in midair. Chapter 2018. How can this sage monarch Qi be so dense? It doesn't make sense. Duanmu Xiaoman and Duanmu Qintian exclaimed at the same time, a hint of worry appearing on their faces. At this moment, the Holy Fire Elder was standing high in the air, laughing maniacally. In the golden wind, the holy fire elder's withered face was filled with an arrogant smile. At this moment, dozens of figures charged toward the golden light under the gazes of millions of people. The one who will come out later will be the true sage emperor of our holy mountain. Everyone, get ready and welcome him. The wind howled, and everyone's aura became chaotic. All the holy mountain elders present were shocked. Why was the holy fire elder so certain that the one who would come out would be the new sage emperor? From the holy fire elder's reaction, this sage emperor must be Yuchi Changfeng. Immediately, a powerful gust of wind blew, and the elders of the holy mountain's first holy sons faction cheered loudly in the air. Welcome the new sage emperor. Welcome the new sage emperor. Welcome the new sage emperor. 3 monstrous sound waves rolled out. The sound waves rushed into the sky again from the mountain range, illuminated by the golden radiance. The shouts of the new Saint Emperor caused people's hearts to palpitate. The powerful aura made people submit. As for the 5th Holy Sons faction, their expressions also changed as they followed suit and cried out. Wong Wong. Golden light lit up the sky and illuminated the earth. Thousands of rays of golden light shot out, filled with an ancient aura that made one feel dignified and solemn. Such a majestic sage monarch chi was enough to make people prostrate on the ground. Even Duanmu Xiaoman and Duanmu Qingtian felt an ancient power overlooking all living things from afar. It could see through everything in this world, and no one could hide. Qila. The first 2 figures shot out of the whirlpool one after another. Everyone couldn't see their true chi, but they all shed tears of excitement at the same time. Their hearts beat wildly, and they even knelt down in midair, trembling as they bowed. Duanmu Xiongtu and the Holy Fire Elder were already extremely excited, and they shot toward the 2 figures. After the domineering sage monarch chi dissipated, the light dimmed, and they could see clearly that it was Su Yi and Shangguan Tianxin. Instantly, Duanmu Xiongtu was extremely astounded, and he looked at Su Yi with extreme surprise. Never had he imagined that the first person to come out from the sky of Origin Grand Formation would be Su Yi, whereas the man by Su Yi's side was an unfamiliar man that he'd never seen before. Everyone's gaze froze, and an awkward and strange atmosphere filled the air. In an instant, everyone's expression froze, and they were frozen on the spot, and they couldn't say a word. Everyone's eyes on Luo Qinyuan's faces monarchs, and countless eyes' eyes, and Luo's, and Luo's, Luo. Shangguan Tianxin had Xiang House on his left and Lu Ruoxi on his right. However, he did not see Yuchi Changfeng and the Lord. It's that brat. Duanmu Qingtian's eyes moved, and he chuckled softly. Then, he shook his head and said softly, "The world is too small. I can't believe I've met 2 brats at the same time today." Sui. An earth-shattering roar came from behind the crowd. Shenghua's eyes were bloodshot as he berated furiously. "How dare you? Didn't you call me the new Sage Emperor just now? Is this the respect for the new Sage Emperor? You don't respect your elders, and you deserve to die." Su Yi's cultivation of Origin Ancestor 3rd stage erupted instantly, and the blood demon killing Godsword in his hand was unleashed. A streak of Sage Monarch Chi surged from the tip of the sword. Clang! Sage Monarch Chi. The crowd was shocked, and they all opened a path for the sword. The power of the metal element was earth-shattering, and the air along the way exploded. The entire space was filled with the sound of metal whistling, and the sharp metal roared. "How dare you? Sui, I want you dead." Shanghua's entire body was engulfed in flames, and his vigorous gaze was filled with blood. He recognized Su Yi's Sage Monarch Chi. He was so angry that he went mad. His withered hands pushed out horizontally, and the killing aura surged as a streak of golden light exploded from his palms. Space ripples surged in the sky above the sacred martial hall. Stormy waves appeared, and the mountains trembled incessantly. The cultivation of Origin Domain 7th stage swept out. When Su Yi's sage monarch Qi collided with Sheng Hua's sage monarch Qi. In the blink of an eye, Duanmu Xiongtu and Duanmu Xiaomin moved at the same time. Two energy light pillars, one gold and one blue, cut the attack in half from the east and west. At the same time, Duanmu Xiongtu pushed his palm forward, and the huge thrust made Su Yi float toward Duanmu Xiaomin. Bang! The attacks exploded, causing the sky to tremble and the wind to blow. The sonic boom that shattered the sky caused the hearts and souls of everyone to tremble. Shenghua, what are you doing? Duanmu Xiongtu's voice reverberated in the sky above the sacred martial hall. At this moment, everyone looked at the few voices in the sky, and they were all moved. What am I doing? Elder Xiongtu, you actually asked me, what am I doing? You asked this little bastard, where's the great saint? Where is the great saint? Shenghua was in grief. His eyes were filled with blood and trembling. Swish, 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 swish. Everyone's gaze fell on Su Yi, but Su Yi was calm and composed. He walked forward slowly, sighed, and sneered. When you gave him the thumb ring, you should have known that he wouldn't be able to come out. You're not helping him, you're killing him. Thumb ring. Suddenly, Duanmu Xiongtu's old, turbid eyes lit up. He immediately understood what was going on inside. He slowly took a step back, and his face sank. Elder Shenghua, it seems like you need to give me a reasonable explanation. What thumb ring? I don't know. The anger in Elder Shenghua's empty eyes gradually faded away. Instead, it was replaced by a cold, murderous aura. You added a seal in the thumb ring that can store and activate the innate holy King Qi. You wanted to kill me, the Holy Master, Xiahong House, and Ruashi together. You're really good at scheming. Su Yi sneered. His cold, lightning-like light pierced through people's hearts as he spoke to Shenghua's old figure. Immediately, everyone gasped. They felt a sliver of fear. Their eyes constantly trembled as they stared at the sacred fire elder in disbelief. But still, many people chose to shake their heads. The elders of the Great Saints faction were all standing behind Shenghua with firm eyes. Whoosh, whoosh. The exit vortex behind him gradually closed. The vast, blazing aura seemed to be able to destroy everything. Su Yi stood in the faint golden light, like the sun of nirvana, majestic and sacred. Shenghua, is what Su Yi said true? Tell me. Duanmu Xiongtu stared at Shenghua. His aura was turbulent, and his volcano-like eyes were about to spit fire. Chapter 2019. Su Yi, don't you dare slander me. The Holy Fire Elder's face twitched as his eyes burned with anger. Ha ha ha! The Holy Fire Elder suddenly burst into laughter as he looked at the crowd behind him. He pointed at Su Yi and said, Everyone, don't be fooled by this little liar. The first Holy Son has already been destroyed by this brat, and now he's pushing all the blame onto the first Holy Son. Su Yi, this old man wants to ask you, where did you get the holy Qi in your body? Everyone, including Duanmu Xiongtu, looked at Su Yi in confusion. Su Yi had clearly used the holy ruler's Qi just now, and it was the purest holy ruler's Qi. Compared to the holy mountain elders, it was many times purer. Su Yi, tell us, where did you get the holy ruler's Qi? Duanmu Xiongtu and the others fixed their eyes on Su Yi. Su Yi had clearly used the holy ruler's Qi just now. It was already suspicious that someone outside the holy mountain could undergo the holy ruler's baptism. Now that he even had the holy ruler's Qi, it was indeed suspicious. Don't tell me he got it from the holy sovereign. The Holy Fire Elder's eyes flashed with a cold, killing intent as the corners of his mouth curled up. Holy Sovereign. Yes, the Holy Sovereign is also in the array. Holy Sovereign. Where's our Holy Sovereign? Why did only Xiahong House and Lu Ruashi come out? Could it really be Su Yi's doing? He also has the Holy Ruler's Qi. Within the mountains, the millions of Holy Mountain disciples suddenly came to a realization. The shock in their eyes turned into fear as they looked at Su Yi again. He slowly raised his head. There was no fluctuation in his gaze, but it carried a chilling aura and might that penetrated one's heart. He gently shook his head. Holy fire, you're just adding more firewood to the hatred points. The holy mountain will not have any peaceful days today. Duanmu Xiongtu looked at the vortex exit that had already closed, and a terrifying aura suddenly spread from his body as he spoke in a low voice. Yi, where is the holy sovereign? You have to tell me, where is the Lord? As soon as he finished speaking, Duanmu Xiongtu's body leaned forward, his face trembling. He desperately wanted Yi to say the answer in his heart. Saint Venerable and Yuchi Changfeng died together. Yuchi Changfeng tried to trigger the innate Saint King's Qi, but was stopped by Saint Venerable. Saint Venerable covered for us, but was killed. As soon as he finished speaking, exclamations of surprise exploded. Everyone was scared out of their wits, as if they had heard the most terrifying news. No, the Lord. How can you go? My Lord, what will happen to the sacred mountain in the future? Cries and screams filled the mountain range. No one could understand the huge blow that the death of the Lord had brought to the Lord. The air was filled with sadness. The aura of the holy mountain's people withered, and a doomsday-like aura of destruction lingered in their hearts. Everyone felt indescribable pain. My lord, no. My lord. Duanmu Xiongtu spat out a mouthful of blood. When he heard this news, his aged body staggered backward, and he was filled with grief. Shining, why do you have to do this? Sigh. Above the void, Duanmu Xiaoman also couldn't hold back her emotions. Her eyes rippled with pain. Ha 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 ha. The holy flame roared loudly as it glared at Yi with a pair of sinister eyes that resembled an eagle's. Yi, what are you trying to say? Saint Venerable and the first saint died in the array formation. Do you still want to push all the blame onto them? The sacred mountain will never forgive you. Today, I will crush you into pieces. As soon as he finished speaking, Shenghua's eyes flickered, and a terrifying aura filled the air again. The elders behind him, including the elders of the Fifth Saint's faction, were all grieving. The Saint King's Qi wrapped around their palms was domineering and majestic, and there was also a sense of death in it. The sky shook, the destructive energy instantly set off a terrifying aura. Duanmu Xiaoman shouted in a low voice, Holy Mountains people, do you think my imperial palace has no one? Do you think the Shenzhen Gate has no one? In an instant, hundreds of figures rushed behind Yi. They were from the Yutian Palace, the Shenzhen Gate, and the aristocratic families. There was no fear on their faces, and their gazes were indifferent. The aura was overwhelming, and the violent soul energy instantly covered the death aura of the elders. Lan Balian's eyes flickered, and she took a step forward. Shenghua, why are you in such a hurry to sow discord? Are you in a hurry to silence Yi? Lan Balian looked at Shenghua and said coldly, Celestial Immortal Lan, what do you mean? The sacred mountain won't be afraid of a little bastard. Shenghua laughed dryly. Facing Lan Balian, he actually felt the pressure of a Lord of Heaven. His gaze trembled, and he trembled. You haven't even figured out what's going on inside the array, and you're already in a hurry to kill. Your motive is a bit suspicious. Shenghua looked at Yi, and his hatred was still monstrous. He said coldly, Today, the Sacred Mountain Tournament is in chaos because of this bastard. The great Holy Sun and the Lord have died one after another. This is a great tragedy for the Sacred Mountain. This is an unprecedented tragedy. I think Celestial Immortal and the disciples of the Sword Union should stay out of this. In addition, if Celestial Immortal wants to interfere, the Sacred Mountain will still accompany you. This is the Sacred Mountain, not the Yuqian Palace. The Sacred Mountain is not afraid of anyone who dares to interfere with the matters of the Sacred Mountain. As soon as he finished speaking, millions of disciples walked out of the verdant mountains. Black shadows filled the mountain peak, and the sacred martial hall was completely surrounded. Shenghua was the leader, and his face was cold. The killing intent in his eyes was extremely strong. In the air, a large black mass covered the sky. The killing intent was like a rolling wave, and it instantly shrouded the entire sacred martial hall. The rolling golden killing intent covered the sky and spread out. The auspicious clouds of the entire sacred mountain dissipated, and the killing intent filled the sky. Shang Hui stood at the forefront with a sneer on his face, as if he was ready to kill the celestial immortal if she wanted to help. "You old bastard, are you looking for a beating?" Duanmu Qingtian shook his long sleeves, and the killing intent in his sleeves was suddenly strong. The terrifying aura in the air was endless. Sui winked at Duanmu Xiaoman and said in a deep voice, "Take Senior Qingtian away. It's not good to expose him. I can solve the matter here myself." Hearing this, Duanmu Xiaoman looked back at Sui, who was shrouded in golden light, and her eyebrows curved slightly. The two looked at each other, and Sui was unusually firm. Then, Duanmu Xiaoman's cold voice faintly fell. "Okay, you take care of yourself." After that, Duanmu Xiaoman's ice-cold eyes floated out, and she said proudly and coldly, "People of the Yuqian Palace, retreat." This, Long Pashan and the elders were confused. Didn't the Yuqian Palace come to support Sui? Why did they retreat at this juncture? The situation is complicated. It's not good for the Yuqian Palace to participate in the matters of the sacred mountain. Sui is letting the Yuqian Palace stay out of it. Let's trust him. Guyue stroked his beard, and his eyes moved quickly. Chapter 2020. Abstinent Young Master Li, Flirtatious. Content Summary. No, you're too big. What's too big? Hubby, your thick thigh. Yin was married to the most powerful man in the empire. Everyone envied her for marrying Li Yuding. They said that her man had the strongest backing and the thickest golden thigh. However, one morning, Yin posted on Weibo as Mrs. Li. "President Li, we're divorced. Please respect yourself." In less than a minute, Li Yuding, the head of the Li Corporation, replied and tagged the post. "Honey, the weather is cold. Let's talk about our private matters in bed. Be good and give me your phone." Countless netizens were excited and said, "Let's kick this bowl of dog food. We're not eating it." Abstinent Young Master Li, Flirtatious. Forwarding address /HTML/11/111/545/HTML/111/545/content summary. Chapter 1. Diagnosis of 2 months of pregnancy. Secretary Yin. This is the diagnosis of my 2-month pregnancy. The child is President Li's. She choked on her words. A test report suddenly fell from the sky and landed in front of Yun Yin. Yun Yin raised her head and saw a beautiful, yet arrogant face. "You are?" Yun Yin frowned slightly. The woman looked down at her and said proudly, "I'm President Li's girlfriend, Li Fei. "Oh," Yun Yin remembered. She was wondering why this woman's face was so familiar. 2 months ago, the paparazzi published a gossip about the new singer, Li Fei, and Li Yuding having a romantic night in a hotel. This news only appeared on the internet for less than an hour before it was removed by the Li Corporation's public relations department. She glanced at the pregnancy diagnosis and calculated the time. It just so happened that it matched with the scandal 2 months ago. As if knowing what she was thinking, Li Fei rubbed her belly and smiled. "You guessed right. It was 2 months ago when I was pregnant with President Li's child." Yin raised an eyebrow. "Miss Li, I'm not the one who impregnated you. What's the point of looking for me?" She choked on her words. "I've checked on you. You're the woman who's been by CEO Li's side the longest. I don't believe that there's nothing going on between the two of you. This pregnancy report is to tell you that if you know what's good for you, you'd better keep your distance from President Li. Otherwise, if I become Mrs. Li, the first person I treat will be you." Yin Yan's interest was piqued. "Since you are President Li's girlfriend, do you know what kind of woman President Li hates the most?" Li Fei was stunned and asked subconsciously, "What woman?" "A woman with plastic surgery." You're the one who had plastic surgery." Li Fei was exasperated. "Miss Li, you know best whether or not I had plastic surgery." Under Li Fei's furious gaze, Yin pushed her chair away and stood up. she said generously. However, I will pass this pregnancy report to President Lee on your behalf. I also wish Miss Lee the best of luck in becoming Mrs. Lee. With that, she turned around and left, ignoring Li Fei's embarrassed expression. As soon as she stepped out of the elevator, Yun saw the secretaries standing in a row. Linda waved at her. Yun, come here. Chi Allnet starter Yun immediately went over. What's wrong? Assistant Chen just called and said that President Lee will be here soon. He should be in the elevator now. Another secretary, Andy, said excitedly. President Lee has been away on a business trip for almost a month. We should welcome him properly. As he spoke, he raised his 30-60 breasts. Yun silently retracted her gaze. The elevator door opened with a ding sound. The first person to walk out of the elevator was a man in a black custom-made suit. His slender body was perfectly wrapped by the tailored suit. His angular and deep face usually showed a sense of indifference and alienation, but now there was a hint of suppressed anger. There were probably not many people in the world who could make Li Yuding so angry. Just as Yun was thinking about what had happened, Li Yuding suddenly walked straight towards her. Yun suddenly felt that something was wrong. Usually, in the company, in front of outsiders, he never acted too intimately with her. He didn't even look at her. In his eyes, she was almost like air. So in the whole company, not many people knew that she was a married young woman. And no one knew that she was Mrs. Lee. The abstinent young Master Lee was so flirtatious. Forwarding door /HTML/11/111/115//111/111/545/. Chapter 2021. Abstinent young Master Lee, flirtatious. Content summary. No, you're too big. What's too big? Hubby, your thick thighs. Yun was married to the most powerful man in the empire. Everyone envied her for marrying Li Yuding. They said that her man had the strongest backing and the thickest golden thighs. However, one morning, Yun posted on Weibo as Mrs. Lee. President Lee, we're divorced. Please respect yourself. In less than a minute, Li Yuding, the head of the Lee Corporation, replied and tagged the post. Honey, it's getting cold. Let's talk about our private matters in bed. Be good and give me your phone. Countless netizens were agitated and said, let's kick over this bowl of dog food. We're not eating it. Abstinent young Master Lee, flirtatious. Forwarding address /HTML/111/115/4/111/115/content. Chi-Chi's Web Premiere Chapter 1. Diagnosis of Pregnancy 2 months Secretary Yun. This is my 2-month pregnancy diagnosis. The child is President Lee's. A test report suddenly fell from the sky and landed in front of Yun. Yun raised her head and saw a beautiful, yet arrogant face. You are? Yun frowned slightly. The woman looked down at her and said proudly, I'm President Lee's girlfriend, Li Fei. Oh, Yun remembered. She was wondering why this woman's face was so familiar. 2 months ago, the paparazzi published a gossip about the new singer, Li Fei, and Li Yuding having a romantic night in a hotel. This news only appeared on the internet for less than an hour before it was completely removed by the public relations department of the Lee Corporation. She glanced at the pregnancy diagnosis and calculated the time. It just so happened that it matched with the scandal 2 months ago. As if knowing what she was thinking, Li Fei rubbed her belly and smiled. You guessed right. It was 2 months ago when I was pregnant with President Lee's child. Yun raised an eyebrow. Miss Lee, I'm not the one who impregnated you. What's the point of looking for me? She choked on her words. I've checked on you. You're the woman who's been by CEO Lee's side the longest. I don't believe that there's nothing going on between the two of you. This pregnancy report is to tell you that if you know what's good for you, you'd better keep your distance from President Lee. Otherwise, if I become Mrs. Lee, the first person I treat will be you. Yun's interest was piqued. Since you are President Lee's girlfriend, Do you know what kind of woman President Li hates the most? Li Fei was stunned and asked subconsciously, "What woman?" "A woman with plastic surgery." You're the one who had plastic surgery." Li Fei was exasperated. "Miss Li, you know best whether or not I had plastic surgery." Under Li Fei's furious gaze, Yin pushed her chair away and stood up. She said generously, "However, I will pass this pregnancy report to President Li on your behalf. I also wish Miss Li the best of luck in becoming Mrs. Li." After that, she turned around and left, ignoring Li Fei's embarrassed expression. As soon as she stepped out of the elevator, Yin saw the secretaries standing in a row. Linda waved at her. Yin, come here." Yin immediately went over. "What's wrong?" Assistant Shun just called and said that President Li will be here soon. He should be in the elevator now. Another secretary, Andy, said excitedly, "President Li has been away on a business trip for almost a month. We should welcome him properly." As he spoke, he raised his 36D breasts. Yin silently retracted her gaze. The elevator door opened with a ding sound. The first person to walk out of the elevator was a man in a black high-end custom-made suit. His slender body was perfectly wrapped by the tailored suit. His angular and deep face usually showed a sense of indifference and alienation, but now there was a hint of suppressed anger. There were probably not many people in the world who could make Li Yuding so angry. Just as Yin was thinking about what had happened, Li Yuding suddenly walked straight toward her. Yin suddenly felt that something was wrong. Usually, in the company, in front of outsiders, he never acted too intimately with her. He didn't even look at her. In his eyes, she was almost like air. So in the whole company, not many people knew that she was a married young woman. And no one knew that she was Mrs. Li. The abstinent young Master Li was so flirtatious. Forwarding address, /HTML/111/115/4/111/111/545/ try reading the contents. Chapter 2022. There was only one origin ancestor at the front. Countless palm prints were like a rainstorm, densely packed as they landed around Su-E. "Brat, there's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Remember, in your next life, don't be too arrogant." After he finished speaking, the palm prints of the origin ancestor elder rapidly closed in. Pitch-black spatial cracks continuously appeared at the edges of the surrounding space. The majestic wind was enough to destroy the heavens and earth and split rivers and mountains. The 10 origin ancestor experts behind him sneered coldly, as if they had already foreseen the bloody scene of Su-Yi's body exploding. Every withered face was filled with resentment. Complacent and arrogant, they were like death gods judging the world. Boom! Suddenly, a huge power exploded in the sky, and a tyrannical wind spread out in all directions from the center of the sky. Golden light flashed, and like a meteor rubbing against the air, the high temperature produced caused everyone to be shocked. Sui, Muyao, Gu Suxin, Lu Zhengyan, Sita Luyun, and the other guests all looked up at the sky. At this moment, they were all shocked. Surging shock waves exploded in the sky with extremely bright light. Like a mushroom cloud, divine light surged in the sky, transforming into an intoxicating, destructive storm. Bang! For the 5 streaks of blood splashed out in the sky, and a fishy wind drifted in the air. Within the dazzling golden light, a youth stood peacefully. His gaze was calm, and a mysterious light flashed around his body. Wearing the demon god battle armor, the giant sword in his hand hung in the air, and a soul-stirring blood light brazenly left behind. What? Everyone present was shocked. That origin ancestor expert was at the 6th level of the origin ancestor realm, yet he could not even withstand a single blow from Su-E. The fine golden light that filled the sky like wind blades reflected on Su-Yi's resolute face. The coldness in his eyes spread out, and his aura was as deep as the abyss. With the heavy sword in his hand, his might was terrifying. The violent wind blew Su Yi's sleeves up high, fluttering in the wind. He looked otherworldly, but at the same time, gasps of surprise could be heard from below. Is this still the third level of the Origin Ancestor Realm? Lu Zongyuan and Sita Luyan were stunned. Their mouths were wide open, unable to close for a long time. So strong. How is this possible? Mu Yao looked at the ferocious golden waves that had erupted in the sky. They were resplendent and dazzling. She hurriedly removed the veil on her forehead. The anxiety in her eyes had long since turned into shock. Huang Ji's wait was worth it. This child is world-shocking, enough to shine through the ages. Gu Su Xin raised her chin. The fierce energy fluctuation caused her yuan qi to fluctuate. Her face flushed red. An ear-piercing roar resounded through the mountains and rivers. Within the thousands of mountains and peaks, it was as if they had fallen into a deathly silence. Countless Saint Mountain disciples' eyes were filled with deep astonishment when they felt such a surging wave. It was obvious they didn't believe Su Yi could defeat a 6th-level Origin Ancestor powerhouse. How is that possible? This is the Saint Mountain. The Saint Monarch Qi is incomparably dense. Anyone would be incomparably passive here. That aura, no. Su is definitely using some secret technique. In the Origin Ancestor realm, every level of advancement is a different level. How is it possible to instantly kill someone? Thousands of eyes were filled with shock. They seemed to be comforting themselves or discussing among themselves. Their eyes were filled with shock, as if they had seen a ghost. Duanmu Xiaoman's eyes were filled with splendor. She crossed her snow-white arms in front of her chest as her eyes trembled. How did you cultivate with him in the space-time gap? Duanmu Qingtan, who was in the black robe, smirked as if he was looking at the most ordinary thing. He snorted coldly and said, "Compared to those little beasts, those people are trash. Origin Ancestor Realm? What a joke." Coincidentally, this sentence was heard by the Golden Fire Beast King behind him. He suddenly paused, and an awkward expression appeared on his face. It was obvious. How could it be fake? Those were all barbaric demon beasts that lived in the space-time gap. Every one of them was at the Demon Ancestor Realm, compared to an environment with thin spiritual energy like the Heavenly Savage Realm. Their flesh and blood were much stronger. "Senior, I'll take my leave first." The Golden Fire Beast King smiled bitterly. A gleam flashed in his eyes as he slowly left the crowd and transformed into a ray of light. Sword essence. What a powerful sword essence. As the golden light dissipated, Suruga's haggard face was filled with excitement. He subconsciously clasped his hands together and nodded continuously. At that moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Su Yi. More than 10 Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouses who were close to him had bitter expressions on their faces. They did not hide their fear and shock. "Next, who wants to die?" In midair, Su Yi's cold voice drifted rapidly among the mountains along with the strong wind. It was like a nightmare that reverberated in everyone's hearts. Wherever the tip of his sword pointed, the vigorous Origin Supreme technique roared like a wild beast. Divine rings filled the sky like intertwining divine chains. They exploded like wind and thunder, stirring up people's hearts. Although he was only at the 3rd level of the Origin Ancestor Realm, the spiritual pressure that erupted from his body was no less than that of an Origin Domain Realm powerhouse. All the Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouses were shocked. They could not help but gulp as a chill rose in their hearts. No one knew what kind of trump cards Su Yi had. Even if he did not rely on the imperial palace or the aristocratic families, he could still wash the sacred mountain with blood. From this exchange, they knew that Su Yi did not seem to be lying. Standing in the distance, Shenghua's face was covered with ice. His brows were tightly knitted together as he looked at the blood demon killing God sword in Su Yi's hand. There's something wrong with this kid. The holy ruler aura is not his. Everyone, don't be afraid. Attack together. Kill this kid. Avenge the sacred venerable and the great holy sun. An 8th-level Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouse quickly stepped forward at Shenghua's signal. More than 10 Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouses' eyes lit up as they shot towards Su Yi like arrows released from a bow. Bang! 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 Space rippled along the way as the figures turned into streaks of golden light and shot forward. The Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouses shouted in unison. Su Yi died. His battle intent surged endlessly as a dozen or so rays of golden light shot into the heavens and the earth. The enormous space in front of him was instantly overwhelmed, and numerous cracks rapidly spread out like a net. Layers upon layers of dense palm prints were covered by the golden light, and the entire space was instantly shattered. The millions of disciples of the Holy Mountain all retreated in unison. Looking at such a vigorous aura, just one glance was enough to destroy one's soul. Bang! Su Yi's expression changed. Suddenly, a ghastly killing intent poured out. Stepping into the void, Su Yi quickly executed the Fu Yao's 100 transformation steps. Divine light rippled as a demonic light flickered in the golden light. Instead of retreating, he advanced. The sudden explosion shocked the Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouses. Su Yi, who was shuttling back and forth, curled his lips into a smile. His expression was extremely cold as he shouted in a low voice. Slow. Too slow. Chapter 2023. Above the void, a golden light continued to explode. Su Yi's figure turned into a ghostly shadow, shuttling back and forth between the experts. The vast attacks were as dense as a large net, but Su Yi was able to narrowly avoid them every time. Only Duanmu Qingtian knew that after going through the training of the five-legged golden flame beast, it was impossible for any of the Origin Ancestor Realm experts to even touch a hair on Su Yi's head unless the sacred flame attacked him personally. Phew! Duanmu Qingtian yawned under his black robe. His gaze landed on the guests he had invited, and a cold aura shot out from him. The Long family? Is it the sacred flames backing? Duanmu Qingtian immediately retracted his aura and gradually retreated. Even though his expression was as cold as steel, he chose to suppress his emotions for the time being. Duanmu Qingtian's aura had already turned into an undercurrent as he continued to observe the changes in the battle circle. Bang! Another killing sword art exploded. With the help of the blood demon killing god sword, Su Yi's sword was flawless. With the heavy sword in his hand, it was as if he had entered the realm of perfection. He flicked, twisted, pointed, and stabbed the sword at will. Great! Su Yi is using the broken sword to such perfection. He is simply the reincarnation of the ancestor. The experts from the Shanjian Gate naturally knew the origin of this sword will. They clapped their hands and cheered. Their hearts were already in turmoil, and they were indescribably shocked. How could they not be shocked that the nameless broken sword art could be used to such a shocking extent? Bang, bang, bang. With a mighty momentum, Su Yi took a step forward and bent his waist to dodge. An unparalleled sword will burst out from his hand. Suddenly, the surrounding clouds moved and the golden clouds were destroyed. A few of the weaker Origin Ancestor Realm experts fell to the ground at the same time. Rumble. Amidst the green clouds, a few Origin Ancestor Realm experts turned into cannonballs and smashed into the mountain peak. In an instant, smoke and dust rose everywhere. The mountain range shook, and the savage beasts hidden within let out deep roars. The continuous roars shook the forest. Even a small portion of the Sacred Mountain disciples were blasted to the ground by the huge shockwave. The remaining Origin Ancestor Realm experts gasped for breath. Their bodies were stained with blood, and their auras were extremely weak. They stared at Su Yi with bloodshot eyes. Is this the strength of the Sacred Mountain? So, you're all ants. A's blues, ants as the blood demon killing God sword in the air, his killing God, his murderous intent was cold. Damn it, this is going too far. Kill this bastard. How can he's? Impossible, he's his aunt's aunt Cess. In the air, The remaining 5 or 6 Origin Ancestor Realm experts and elders looked at each other. Their red pupils constricted, filled with fear and doubt. They were afraid of Su Yi's strength. He was actually able to take on Origin Ancestor Realm experts without being at a disadvantage. What they were puzzled about was why he wasn't afraid of the Sacred King aura. Su Yi, this young man, is actually so strong. Duanmu Xiongtu's snow-white beard trembled slightly. His eyes rippled, and he couldn't help but feel excited. Looking at Su Yi's direction, Duanmu Xiongtu noticed that the Sacred Fire Elder's face had turned red. No one had ever behaved so atrociously in the Sacred Mountain's territory. This was a disgrace to the Sacred Mountain, and a trampling on the Sacred Fire Elder's dignity. The stronger Su Yi was, the clearer Duanmu Xiongtu was about the Sacred Fire Elder's actions. His lips moved slightly as he muttered, "This young man may be able to clean up the Sacred Mountain. What kind of surprise can you give me?" In the distance, the Sacred Fire Elder felt a faint power emanating from the mountains behind him. He immediately puffed out his chest, and his face darkened. His vigorous and fierce voice rang out again. "Impudent! Elders, don't be afraid. Get into formation. We must kill this young man on the spot today. We must erase the Sacred Mountain's disgrace." Elders of the Sacred Mountain. The Sacred Mountain's reputation cannot be tarnished. If you're a disciple of the Sacred Mountain, get into the Celestial Golden Lock formation. Take the heavy sword from the thief's hand. As soon as he finished speaking, a few Origin Ancestor Realm experts, whose eyes were red from killing, shouted. The Origin Ancestor Realm experts guarding the Imperial Palace frowned and rose into the air. A total of 10 elders surrounded Su Yi once again in a circular formation, their hateful gazes landing on Su Yi. "Oh no, the Celestial Golden Lock formation," Duanmu Xiaoman exclaimed softly, a trace of seriousness appearing between her brows. "Su Yi is going to be in trouble. Even this formation is being used." Duanmu Xiongtu's expression was grave. He secretly formed a hand seal, and a golden vortex formed beneath his feet as he prepared to attack. Whoosh! Within the encirclement, Su Yi's gaze landed on every Origin Ancestor Realm expert. His gaze was like a cold sword as he revealed a trace of excitement. "You're about to die, yet you're still smiling. Young man, let's see how long you can keep smiling." Su Yi's sword-like eyebrows furrowed as he rested his heavy sword on his shoulder and chuckled. "I've already broken through the Heaven Origin Golden Sky formation. Why would I be afraid of your small formation? Get down here." The dark and deep sword god radiated cold light in all directions. When the cold light reached the tip of the sword, Su Yi's figure disappeared from the spot once again. "Go to hell. Kill." The Origin Ancestor Realm experts attacked together. A terrifying golden vortex spun rapidly in the air, like a golden storm interweaving with divine chains, surrounding Su Yi. Rumble. The holy ruler Qi, which was hundreds of times stronger than before, instantly soared to the maximum. Everyone present was shocked and felt their hair stand on end. Puffed. Many of the invited guests couldn't withstand such a powerful attack. Their faces instantly turned ashen as they spat out large clouds of blood. "Back off." Duanmu Qingtian changed his voice as his yuan qi fluctuated slightly. He pulled the anxious Duanmu Xiaoman back. Boom! Gue, Long Pasan, and the other elders pushed their palms forward. Their palms overlapped, and at the same time, they set up a soul barrier in front of them. The huge shock waves still made everyone's blood surge, making them feel extremely uncomfortable. Apart from that, the guests also moved back under the protection of the Sacred Mountain disciples. In an instant, everyone present became dispirited and listless. The sonic boom that resounded through the sky didn't stop. Thousands of Sacred Mountain disciples covered their ears as if they were in extreme pain. Clang! Golden light exploded, and the battle circle with Su Yi at the center was like fireworks. It was incomparably dazzling. Only those who were in the middle of it knew what was going on. Ha ha ha! The Sacred Flame Elder stood high in the sky and laughed wildly once again. His sinister laughter finally erupted at this moment. However, in the next second, when the light in the battle circle dissipated, the sacred flame elder's smile instantly froze. Like an ice sculpture, dozens of figures floated down from the sky like birds with broken wings. Sacred flame, it's finally your turn. Su Yi's indifferent voice rang out. A green figure slowly walked out of the golden light in front of him. His voice was soft but murderous. A biting cold wind blew in front of him, and his black hair fluttered, revealing a pair of dark, calm eyes. Su Yi, the sacred flame elder, shook his head, thinking that he had seen wrongly. He only came back to his senses when he heard dozens of crashing sounds. Chapter 2024. Su Yi had broken the celestial golden lock formation. He had even killed all the origin ancestor powerhouses from the grand competition. Suddenly, the sound of breathing came to an abrupt halt. Countless pairs of eyes stared blankly at the horizon, as if they had fallen into an ice cave. Every move Su Yi made was like a demon god, smashing their hearts. How is this possible? Sheng Hui stared blankly at Su Yi's figure. The origin ancestor powerhouses from the grand competition of the Sacred Mountain were the mainstays of the Sacred Mountain. Every single one of them would be worshipped by any sect or even a grand elder. However, they had all been smashed into pieces by Su Yi in an instant. At this moment, the air around Su Yi's body had already reached its peak. The desolate air from the Origin Supreme technique swept through the air, and his indifferent gaze landed on the rustling holy fire in the distance. Did Su Yi break the celestial golden lock formation by himself? Duanmu Xiaoman, who was in the Yuqian Palace camp, was in disbelief. She knew that it was impossible for a third-level origin ancestor powerhouse to break the celestial golden lock formation, no matter how talented he was. Duanmu Xiongtu was also shocked. His turbid eyes seemed to have lost their focus as he muttered to himself. Its power is second only to the protective mountain formation, and it was activated by origin ancestor powerhouses together. How could it be broken just like that? Duanmu Xiongtu shook his head and smiled bitterly. He raised his arm and retreated again. Forget it, forget it. It seems like I'm getting old. I don't understand anymore. The entire place was dead silent. Even the roars of the beasts had disappeared. The millions of Sacred Mountain disciples were scattered in all directions. Some were hung on the trees while others fell into the deep ravines. Everyone looked at Su Yi in unison. It was as if they were looking at the god of death, Ling Tian. Their eyes were burning with fear. In the sky, only Duanmu Qing Tian remained calm, as if nothing had happened. He said in a low voice, "Sister, this celestial golden lock formation is derived from the Qianyuan golden sky formation. As long as it's powered by Saint Ruler Qi, this kid won't be afraid." Hearing this, Duanmu Xiaoman's moon-like eyes revealed a hint of pleasant surprise, and the corners of her mouth unknowingly rose into an arc. Holy flame, it's finally your turn. I have a strong point. Su Yi shrugged his shoulders, his watery eyes filled with calmness, so calmness that it was frightening. She laughed heartily, and a strong killing intent flashed in her clear eyes. She then said, "That is, I am the one who has a deep grudge against you. They never charged interest. Kill them all." Elder Holy Flame, who had already been trembling in fear, retreated at top speed. His sage monarch world appeared, and his face was as cold as steel. Su Yi, do you think the Sacred Mountain will yield just because you're using a power that doesn't belong to you? Would just you kill this old man in your next life? Boom. Holy Flame laughed maniacally, and a trace of blood-red battle intent surged on his aged face again. He stretched his palms toward the sky, and a mighty Saint Ruler Qi flowed like waves. This old man is a 7th-stage Yuan domain. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Hand over your life, you brat. Su Yi's heart trembled when he saw the golden waves rolling in from the sky. There was a huge power hidden within the auspicious clouds. The Saint Ruler Qi of a 7th-stage Yuan domain was far from what dozens of origin ancestors could compare to. Taking a deep breath, Su-Yi shouted loudly, "Then I'll use my own strength to kill you." Bang! Pinger! Come out! Su-Yi's figure was as illusory as lightning, and his speed was pushed to the limit in an instant. He took the opportunity to change the direction of the heavy sword and slashed at Duanmu Xiongtu's head. Grief, destruction, heavenly star, open. At the same time, Su-Yi's eyes flickered, and a bright light shot out from his eyes. His aura was incomparably fierce, and he was like a human-shaped giant sword that charged into the sky. The blood-red, killing intent of the heavy sword immediately filled the sky. Su-Yi smiled. The reason he had been using the Saint Ruler Chi previously was to conserve his Yuan Chi. He had been waiting for this moment. His aura rose layer by layer like bamboo. When his figure reached the highest point, Su-Yi slashed down with the heavy sword in his hand. Sword shadows that contained boundless killing sword intent filled the sky, and countless tiny wind blade-like attacks smashed on a Holy Flame Elder's body. What? In the Saint Ruler realm, Holy Flame Elder's pupils rapidly shrank. The attack before him was so terrifying that even his Yuan domain realm spirit began to palpitate, and he felt like prostrating on the ground. He really couldn't understand how Su-Yi's cultivation had suddenly increased by such a large level. Coupled with his sword intent, it was almost enough to split heaven and earth and shatter rivers and rivers. In a hurry, his withered palms slapped continuously, and a few streaks of golden light transformed into the shape of dragons that charged into the sky. Roar! The roaring dragon-shaped golden light was instantly worn down by the countless attacks, turning into a rain of light that scattered. How is this possible? Everyone present was horrified. A chill ran down their spines, and they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Bang! The sound of silk ripping apart resounded throughout heaven and earth as the 7th-level origin domain, Saint King realm, was forcefully split apart. The heavy sword had struck out with a piercingly cold edge. Holy Flame Elder's expression changed drastically. He was no longer in a hurry to circulate his Saint Ruler Chi. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Holy Flame, pay with your life for the Li clan's people. A debt of blood must be paid with blood. Rumble. Blood splattered in the air as the sharp sword slashed across Holy Flame's shoulder. Halfway through, Holy Flame Elder also erupted with astonishing strength, blocking the heavy sword and retreating rapidly. Bang! Holy Flame Elder's withered body turned into a cannonball and landed heavily in the forest. A bottomless pit suddenly formed, and a spiderweb-like gully instantly spread out. High up in the sky, Su-Yi was panting heavily. He inadvertently swallowed a blood jade ginseng root as he looked coldly at Holy Flame Elder in the pit. Holy Flame Elder's clothes were torn and stained with blood. The bamboo-like skinny chest in front of him had all burst open, and his left shoulder was even more bony. It was extremely horrifying. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Another mouthful of blood spurted out. Holy Flame Elder's lifeless eyes were wide open, and his aura was weak and feeble. Su-Yi's hand seals were formed as he raised his brows and said coldly, "The bloodbath of the sacred mountain will begin with you. I'll let you see the fate of the sacred mountain that you're so proud of." Bang! Su-Yi silently recited a cultivation technique, and a ferocious sacred mountain aura once again slashed down from the sky like a thunderbolt. Wherever the sword pointed, it was invincible. Rumble. The crisp sound of flesh rupturing resounded, and the 7th-level origin domain Elder's pupils constricted before he was drowned in the golden light that filled the sky. The dazzling golden rain drifted with the wind, and the terrifying rain of blood sprinkled over every corner of the sacred mountain. The nearby sacred mountain disciples were blasted to the point their limbs were shattered. Dead? Holy Flame Elder was killed by Su-Yi just like that? The guests, including Mu Yao, Situ Luyun, and Gu Suxin all had cold gazes as they sucked in a breath of cold air. It was as if they were facing the end of the world, and they couldn't believe the tragic scene before their eyes. It's over. Holy flame. A sacred mountain expert of his generation died, just like that. Chapter 2025. In the camp of Jintian Palace, Su Kuanga's body trembled slightly. On the day of the Sacred Martial Arts Conference, Holy Fire was in high spirits and was the strongest among everyone present. No one would have expected that in just a few years, Shenghua would be defeated by the chi of the sage monarch that he was most familiar with. What a joke. What a pity. Sect Master, Tian Yao School is going to prosper. My ancestors, Tianqin has finally found the right person. Tian Yao School is going to return. Shangguan Tianshun, who was supporting Zhu Honglu and Lu Ruoxi, had tears in his eyes. His hands trembled, and he bit his lips. He had finally vented some of his anger. Hey, not bad, kid. Not bad, kid. Duanmu Qingtian's tall body trembled uncontrollably under his black robe. Duanmu Xiaoman also turned around instantly, her eyes clouded over. She knew that Duanmu Qingtian had been waiting for this day for a long time. What the Sacred Mountain had done was infuriating. Among the guests, an old man flickered. After Shenghua died, he immediately retreated and disappeared from the panicked crowd. Whoosh! Duanmu Xiongtu was shocked by the scene in front of him. His loose black robe trembled violently, and he heard a few more whistling sounds coming from the horizon. Not good, Duanmu Xiongtu roared. An unusual sense of danger welled up in his heart. Su-yi, you unfilial son, I want you to pay with your life. I want you to pay with your life. Die. Pay with your life for Elder Shenghua. More than 20 Yuan domain and origin ancestor powerhouses rushed over from the depths of the Sacred Mountain. Someone else wants to die? Su-yi withdrew his Yuan Qi and quickly circulated it. The Origin Supreme technique in his body had already refined half of the Yuan Qi in the ginseng's roots. The Great Void surged violently again. The Demon Emperor Ginseng's roots had a miraculous effect. Su Yi's small bed, which had been damaged by the energy storm, was quickly recovering. The heavy sword drew a strange arc in the air. Su Yi straightened his eyes and looked at the 20 or so murderous golden lights in the distance. Since that's the case, you can all be buried with that old bastard Holy Flame. The people of the Holy Mountain would be destroyed. Kill him. Kill him. No. Sect Master Su. Duanmu Xiongtu shouted from behind, his eyes trembling. In an instant, Su Yi's voice reverberated like a nightmare in the vast mountain range. Within the shattered golden clouds, the wind and clouds surged, and thunder rumbled endlessly. Boom! Duanmu Xiongtu's eyes widened, but he was unable to step forward. The terrifying shockwave swept through the air as he exclaimed in shock. This is the power of the Qianyuan Golden Sky Formation. How could this be? The ear-piercing roar was like the splitting of the heavens and the earth. Instantly, a large area of the mountain was filled with golden light, and the densely packed peaks and valleys were filled with violent golden lightning. Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed, as if it had triggered the 9 heavens' profound thunder. More than 10 golden lightning bolts as thick as dragons descended from the sky, smashing into the incoming figures with devastating force. Su Yi held the blood demon killing god sword in his hands and stepped forward, slashing down with the heavy sword from high above. The faint smile on his face was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, sending chills down everyone's spines. Clang! Boom! In an instant, the entire sky was filled with golden lightning, and the air froze in an instant. The ferocious lightning directly blasted the 20 or so figures into nothingness. TSK, TSK. In the rapidly rising temperature, white smoke rose in spirals. The group of experts was reduced to ashes just like that, annihilated in the golden light that filled the sky. Ah, my head hurts so much. No, I don't want to die. He's a demon. My hand. Master, save me. I don't want to die. Almost half of the million disciples of the Holy Mountain were pushed away in an instant. A rough count put the number at around 200,000 people. The wails and cries of the Holy Mountain disciples could be heard everywhere as they fled in all directions. It was an extremely bloody scene. Withered branches, withered leaves, and ruins. As far as the eye could see, everything was char-brown. The dazzling golden light did not dissipate, and the dull, rumbling sounds lingered in the air. In an instant, the Holy Mountain was in an uproar. The Holy Mountain disciples who were not injured were already as pale as paper. Their hearts and souls were shaking as they rolled on the ground in horror. Is the Holy Mountain going to be destroyed? Is the Holy Mountain going to be destroyed? Standing in the sky, Duanmu Xiongtu looked at the tragic state of the Holy Mountain and couldn't help but feel sorrowful. Dozens of Origin Grandmasters and Origin Domain Realm experts had died one after another. This was an indelible wound to any top force. Su Yi, who stood tall and straight like a sword in the sky, was indifferent, as if the people in front of him deserved it. Duanmu Xiongtu sighed bitterly as tears streamed down his face. Sectmaster Su, I know very well that the Holy Mountain has committed many unjust acts. I dare not ask for your forgiveness. I only hope that you can forgive them whenever possible. This disciple is innocent. Duanmu Xiongtu's old body trembled uncontrollably. He had completely lost his mind at this moment. He pursed his lips tightly as his heart ached. Bang! Bang! Su Yi flashed to Duanmu Xiongtu's side and helped him up. He whispered, Elder Xiongtu, the Holy Mountain has done too many wrong things. I'm not only representing myself today. They are pitiful, but isn't the Li family pitiful as well? Aren't the people who were slaughtered by them pitiful as well? Are all the people in the world sinful? Duanmu Xiongtu's dim eyes suddenly froze. As an elder of the sacred martial hall, who was on the same level as the Grand Elder, how could he not know about these shady deals? He had participated in the destruction of the Tian Yao school, the massacre of the ancient spiritual village, and the annihilation of the Li family. He was well aware of all these things. Duanmu Xiongtu was absent-minded, his dry lips opened and closed, not knowing what to do. Su Yi, I'll fight you to the death. Go to hell. More than half of the disciples of the Holy Mountain saw such a tragic situation. Many of them were filled with blood and qi, and they charged toward Su Yi. Duanmu Xiongtu, who had no courage, knew that he couldn't save them. He looked at the thousands of people coming from afar and whispered, Don't! Boom! Another huge golden thunderbolt slammed down from the sky, and the space rippled along the way, collapsed inch by inch. With a loud bang, thousands of disciples of the Holy Mountain were blasted into ashes again. Bang! A loud thunderclap resounded through the sky and the valley. A large number of valleys and peaks were blasted into pieces. Under the thunder, countless disciples of the Holy Mountain fled in all directions as if it was the end of the world. I said that the hearts of the people of the Holy Mountain are rotten. Today, I will use the blood of the Holy Mountain to baptize the world. Boom! The giant sword in Su Yi's hand cut through the sky again. A huge sword mark flashed across the sky, and a pitch-black crack suddenly formed. Roar! Master, the Overlord's group of demons are all here, awaiting your orders. From the pitch-black crack, waves of demonic aura surged into the sky from the golden crack. Huge figures of demonic beasts appeared as if they had crossed the sky and brought the Holy Mountain into a desolate and barbaric world. The ferocious aura froze the void. Between the mountains, the barbaric beasts hiding in the depths of the Holy Mountain seemed to have sensed it, and the entire forest began to tremble in an instant. Chapter 2026. Thousands of barbaric beasts rushed into the sacred mountain like a herd of wild bulls. Their roars were as loud as thunder, shaking the void. The barbaric beasts filled the sky and the ground. In the chaos, every barbaric beast was orderly. Their fierce eyes were shining as if they were waiting for Su Yi's command. This is Overlord Monster Beasts. Guyu, who had once received a group of Overlord Legion members, felt his hair stand on end, his eyes filled with shock. Everyone was stunned for a moment before they burst into an uproar. They didn't know where the Golden Fire Beast King had gotten such a large number of barbaric beasts. Everyone from Heavenly Palace knew that although these barbaric beasts were a level lower than the Overlord Legion, there were tens of thousands of them. However, tens of thousands of barbarian beasts were definitely not something these scattered disciples of the Holy Mountain could compare to. Tian Yao School. The Tian Yao School has reappeared. Ancestors, the sect leader has brought glory to our Tian Yao School. We will prosper. Shangguan Tianxin's eyes were filled with tears. He was so excited that he kept nodding to the sky and biting his lips. His emotions had reached the peak. Sect leader, please give the order. Su Yi's eyes were bloodshot as he listened to the Golden Fire Beast King's roar. His body was filled with fighting spirit. From the corner of his eyes, Su Yi's body took a step forward. Immediately, the heavy sword in his hand turned into a command. A long breath violently spewed out from his chest, filling the sky. Overlords, wash the sacred mountain with blood today. Leave no one alive. Roar. In an instant, as if they had received an order, the barbaric beasts rushed forward. The mountains shook and the sky cracked. Barbaric beasts of all shapes and sizes bared their fangs and brandished their claws. Rumble. Huge iron claws and tiger hooves rushed towards the disciples of the sacred mountain, who were already scared out of their wits. Suddenly, blood filled the entire sacred mountain. Bang, bang. Terrifying waves swept across the sky. Huge beast claws trampled on the peaks of the sacred mountain. The forests were destroyed, and the spiritual beasts flew away. In a split second, the sacred mountain, filled with resplendent golden light, was replaced by the desolate barbarian demon world. The thunderclouds in the distance pressed down and rolled over. Under the sound of thunder, no egg could remain unharmed. The golden mountains were soon stained with blood. Countless pairs of despairing eyes were filled with ferocious barbaric demon beasts. A large number of disciples of the sacred mountain panicked. They raised their weapons to resist, but no matter how many of them there were, they were still frightened by the scene in front of them. Tens of thousands of barbaric beasts covered the sky. The roars of tigers and dragons shook the sky. The menacing beasts opened their bloody mouths and swallowed the Origin Void stage Holy Mountain disciple into their stomachs. They bared their fangs and roared. Many guessed at this moment could no longer hold on their bones. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that today was not the day of the Holy Mountain's great calamity. If no one intervened to stop them, the Holy Mountain would collapse overnight. Let's go to the Imperial Heavenly Palace. The Sacred Mountain is in chaos. The Sacred Mountain will be destroyed. Suruga's eyes were strangely calm. Let's go. The Sacred Mountain is already in chaos. The martial saints of the Sacred Mountain will come again. Let's go to the Imperial Heavenly Palace's camp. Sitaluya nodded and said with a frown. In the distance, the roars of beasts could be heard, and the mountain range was shattered. Mu Yao looked at Su Yi, who was like a god, standing proudly in the sky. The ripples in her eyes did not dissipate for a long time. In the bloody atmosphere, the people of the Shunjian Gate all retreated to the Imperial Heavenly Palace's camp. Standing high in the sky, the people of the Shunjian Gate looked at the mess below them. The people of the Sacred Mountain were in a terrible situation. Blood rained down on the Sacred Mountain. It was incomparably miserable. Fortunately, this young man is not the enemy of the Shunjian Gate. The experts of the Shunjian Gate opened their eyes wide. Thinking back to the day when the Shunjian Gate sided with Yun Lingfeng, they still had lingering fear. As soon as they landed, Suruga and Gu Suxin's eyes fell on an old figure. In an instant, Duanmu Xiongtu's face aged 10 years. His eyes trembled as he looked at Duanmu Xiaoman. Palace Master Xiaoman, the 10,000 years of foundation of the Sacred Mountain cannot be destroyed in our hands. The only one who can stop Sect Master Su is you. You can be magnanimous. Leave a way out for the sacred mountain. Duanmu Xiongtu's body trembled, and his pupils unconsciously shrank. This disaster, the sacred mountain, was destined to be irreversible. At this point, even if they stopped Su Yi, they would not be able to avoid Duanmu Xiaoman. The imperial palace had not made a move yet. Seeing Duanmu Xiaoman's frosty expression and the elder's solemn expressions, Long Pashan's face darkened. Elder Xiongtu, don't you know how much the sacred mountain has done? You are the #1 figure in the sacred mountain. Shenghua deserved to die. You don't have to say anymore. What he meant was that even if the sacred mountain was completely destroyed today, the imperial palace would not interfere. The people of the sacred mountain should have been punished like this long ago. The sacred mountain had been enemies with the imperial palace many times. They destroyed the Li clan and even threatened to attack the imperial palace. Not interfering was already the imperial palace's greatest tolerance. Elder Duanmu, everyone knows about the grudge between the imperial palace and the sacred mountain. Sect Master Su told us not to interfere, but you want us to save the sacred mountain? What is the reason? Guyue's wrinkled eyes flashed with a cold glint. Elder Duanmu's footsteps paused, and the last flame of hope in his eyes was extinguished. He faintly glanced at the frosty Duanmu Xiaoman, who looked like an eye sculpture. Then he shook his head, and his body bowed again. He turned around and prepared to face the monsters on the mountain. His head was high, and his eyes were filled with determination. A few decades ago, did you come to the imperial palace often? In an instant, a light and lonely voice came from behind. Duanmu Xiaoman raised her eyebrows and said this out of the blue. Duanmu Xiongtu's weathered figure stopped in the midst of the flying blood and trembled. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he glanced back. Just as he was about to speak, a voice resounded through the clouds. Boom! In the depths of the sacred mountain, the image of a golden crane rushed out of the clouds, and an incomparably large golden ripple shot out from the mountain. The golden beast spread its wings, and the crane soared through the 9 heavens. Immediately, the surrounding barbaric chi retreated to the corner as if it saw its enemy. The resplendent golden light was divine and majestic, as if it illuminated the earth and washed away all the darkness in the world. A huge sound wave rolled over. On the sacred mountain, the golden crane's eyes shot out a fierce golden light. It was solemn and powerful, and immediately strung the dozens of barbaric beasts together. Bang! The barbaric beast cries were incomparably tragic, and they quickly turned into cannonballs. The bloody and desolate aura caused the atmosphere of the sacred mountain to become extremely strange. In the depths of the mountain, the sound of explosions rang out continuously. The earth-shattering golden waves rolled, and the barbaric beast's cries resounded through the sky. Chapter 2027. Above the golden crane, a ferocious golden light swept across the surroundings. In an instant, the mountains and rivers were shattered and countless trees were blasted into pieces, rolling down the mountain. In the sky, on the ground, in the mountains, and in the water, the roars of barbaric demon beasts could be heard everywhere. Countless barbaric demon beasts prostrated themselves on the ground, their eyes filled with fear. Facing this golden crane, they felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. It was as though they were facing a supreme demon beast. It's the Saint Extermination Elder. It's the Saint Extermination Elder. On the holy mountain, countless disciples saw hope. Their bodies trembled and their breathing quickened from excitement. Their longing and pained gazes landed on the old figure on the golden crane. Su Yi's eyes flickered as he stood in the air. The aura of the Origin Supreme technique swept across his body once again. His soul energy quickly sensed that the expert opposite him was at the 8th level of the Yuan domain realm. Saint Extermination. Heavens, even this old fellow came out. Qi Fei Hong was incomparably astonished as he whispered to Su Yi. The Holy Mountain's 6th elder is the Holy Mountain's cornerstone force. The deceased Shenghua was ranked 6th, but that was because Duanmu, Xiongtu withdrew. If Duanmu, Xiongtu entered, there wouldn't be a place for Elder Shenghua. The sixth elder represents the Grand Elder, assisting the Holy Emperor and Holy Venerate. The other 5 elders never come out and only activate when the Heaven Origin Golden Sky Array needs to work together. After listening to Qi Feihong's introduction, Su Yi's gaze turned cold as he looked at the golden light in the distance. The battle intent and killing intent in his heart soared. Within the hazy golden light, a calm and ferocious holy monarch aura filled the air. Within the hazy golden light, another figure walked out from the Saint Extermination Elder. The 2 figures gradually met each other's eyes. There's also Elder Sheng Qing. The holy mountain is saved, Duanmu Xiongtu exclaimed. Immediately, his burning gaze landed on Su Yi. The 4th elder's Elder Sheng Qing. 9th level of the Yuan domain realm. Qi Feihong's breathing quickened. The dazzling golden light in the distance was like a golden light that could destroy the world, instilling fear in everyone's heart. 2 super strong practitioners slowly walked out from the light and shadow, and the expressions of everyone in Yutian Palace changed drastically. A vast gust of wind swept across the sky. Beneath the giant golden crane, the figures of the 2 experts were even more majestic. They gave people a feeling of being high up in the air, a feeling of oppression that made one want to look up to them. The 9th level of the Origin Domain realm. The Holy Mountain's foundation has finally been revealed. Will those 6 old geezers come out? Duanmu Qingtian raised his sword-like eyebrows, his eyes gleaming. Immediately, a murderous aura filled the black robe. Duanmu Qingtian's eyes were like lightning as he stared at the 2 people on the mountain peak in the distance. Among the people present, perhaps only Duanmu Qingtian knew how terrifying the 6 elders of the Holy Mountain were among the people who had been hunting him down before he had broken through to Yuan Tian's stage. Apart from that, there was also a terrifying expert who was deeply imprinted in his mind among the pursuers. A few decades had passed, and Duanmu Qingtian still had a lingering shadow in his heart. Until now, he still did not know the identity of the mysterious old man. Qila, standing beside Duanmu Qingtian, Duanmu Xiaoman suddenly formed a hand seal. A trace of frost flashed across her eyes, and a surge of water attribute Yuan Qi wrapped around Duanmu Xiaoman like silk. Half-step Yuan Tian stage. Duanmu Xiongtu exclaimed in a low voice. Duanmu Xiongtu, who had just been shaken by the 2 Saint Destroyer and Saint Qing elders, once again felt an even more powerful energy soaring into the sky behind him. He glanced behind him and saw that it was actually Duanmu Xiaoman. His expression changed slightly. Soon, Duanmu Xiaoman retracted her aura, and her expression became extremely solemn. Duanmu Xiongtu noticed that the black-robed man beside her had pressed her down. He immediately shivered and did not say anything else. Just a little brat can turn the Holy Mountain upside down? You guys are really promising. Is there no one left in the Holy Mountain? The Saint Destroyer Elder roared, and a fierce energy fluctuation pierced out from the light shadow. Above the void, an incomparably loud and majestic voice suddenly pierced through the messy mountains and rivers, drifting in the air, sonorous and sonorous, dragon roar and lion roar. Brat, did you kill the Saint Fire Elder? Answer this, Lord. Saint Qing stood behind him with his hands behind his back. His calm eyes looked at the miserable scene in the mountains, but he could not help but be filled with anger. Buzz. The eyes of the expert in front of him suddenly emitted 2 streaks of golden light like cold lightning, illuminating the sky as if a god was punishing the world. The sound was like a loud bell, and the sound waves were heavy and powerful, directly shattering the space in front of him inch by inch. A large number of disciples of the Holy Mountain immediately turned pale as if they had received an extremely terrifying soul attack. They hugged their heads and cried bitterly. "Ah, my head. It hurts." The sound of pain filled the world one after another. Glancing indifferently at the disciples of the Holy Mountain below, Su Yi also felt a pain in his heart, as if someone had hit him heavily with a stick and quickly transmitted it to his Tian Yuan B soul. Pucci. Chi Feihong spat out a large mouthful of blood, and a few terrifying streaks of blood appeared on his aged face. He was in great pain. The iron soulfish was also curled up in a corner in the entrance, its organs tangled together. Su Yi, these two people's Saint Ruler Chi contains a soul attack, and it's extremely ferocious. Seeing that the origin ancestor and demon ancestor experts in his body could not withstand the soul attack of the origin domain experts, Su Yi cursed inwardly. Without changing his expression, he formed a seal in his hand and immediately circulated the origin supreme technique. After a few breaths, the throbbing in his meridians in his heart calmed down, and he quickly regained his clarity. The demon's soul in his heart was as hot as the sun, emitting a demonic glow. The mysterious ball of light was dense and emitted a mystical glow, not fearing the Saint Ruler Chi in front of him at all. A third-level origin ancestor can actually reach this level. Within the sacred light, the Saint Annihilation and Saint Purity auras were vigorous, but Su Yi was still surprised that he could calm down so quickly. Stepping on the void and looking at the two balls of golden light in the sky, Su Yi's anger rose in his chest. His eyes were like lightning as he slashed with the blood demon, slaying Godsword in his hand. "Since you're here, don't hide in the mountains. Come out." As soon as he shouted, two golden thunderbolts descended from the sky once again. The boiling hot aura suddenly collapsed, and the solidified void immediately reverberated with a heavy roar. Boom! The Saint Annihilation and Saint Purity elders were within the golden light. When they saw the thunderbolts, their expressions changed. They opened their arms at the same time, and the auras of the 8th level and 9th level origin domain erupted abruptly. An invisible sacred aura surged out. The golden crane behind them spread its wings and let out a cry that reached the 9 heavens. The hazy sacred light rolled and collided with the thunderbolts in the void. Layers of spatial ripples surged out from the surrounding void, and a deafening clang resounded. Bang! 2 consecutive thunderous sounds were heard, and the void trembled. The vast Saint Mountain peaks trembled, and golden light filled the sky. The dark clouds in the distance also trembled. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.